These are the jobs you may not see every day, but just know we're working hard to make Hillsborough County a better place to live, work, and play. Subscribe to our YouTube page for more great county-related videos, only on HTV.
Welcome to a meeting of your Planning Commission, the official local planning agency for the cities of Tampa, Temple Terrace, Plant City, and unincorporated Hillsborough County. The Planning Commission provides innovative leadership and long-range vision that contributes to the creation of a thriving, prosperous community that offers opportunity, fairness, and choice in how we live, move, learn, work, and play. For more information about the Planning Commission, please call 813-272-5940. Follow us on social media or visit our website at planhillsborough.org.
Welcome to the July 14th, 2025 public hearing of the Planning Commission on Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan Amendments. We thank you for attending this meeting. Your comments and participation are encouraged. For those attending in person and wishing to speak, and wishing to speak on any agenda item, please sign the register at the rear of the room and turn off any devices that may be a distraction. To minimize feedback in the audio, all online participants in the meeting will be muted until it is their opportunity to speak. Planning commissioners should unmute themselves to indicate that they would like to speak. Please be sure to state your name at the beginning of your remarks for the benefit of the clerk. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to provide comments. When your name is called, you will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak. Please wait until the chair calls on you to begin speaking. State your name at the beginning of your comments and adhere to the time limits. If anyone has difficulties or is watching via HTV and would like to provide comments to be included in the record for the local government hearing, please email them to planner@plancom.org. Excuse me. For those of you who are not familiar with our process, the meeting will be conducted as follows. The agenda item will be introduced. Staff will give their presentation with a 15-minute time limit. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make a presentation with a 15-minute time limit. Following presentations, members of the public may address the Planning Commission when recognized by the chairman. Public comment will be heard for 3 minutes per person. The applicant will be afforded a 3-minute period for rebuttal response. Planning commissioners will then ask questions. Public comment will be closed, and upon a motion, a second and discussion, a vote will be taken. To all participants, please note that tonight's hearing concerns proposed changes to the comprehensive plan. Presentations should not include matters related to zoning applications and site plans that are not before the commission. Zoning conditions are not relevant to plan amendments and may not be considered by the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission's purview in making a recommendation is limited to consistency or inconsistency with the comprehensive plan. With that, I'd like to please ask the clerk to call roll.
Good evening. Bowden? Buzza?
Here.
Cardenas? Kona?
Here.
Kress? Kugler?
Here.
Linkus?
Here.
Lauk? Sieben?
Here.
Barry?
Here.
Orton?
Lori Belangia for Michelle Orton.
And Joseph?
Here.
You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. Our first agenda item, 2A, HCCPA 25-10, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, 6544, County Road 579, and the presenter is Willow Mickey.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Willow Mickey with Planning Commission staff. I'm here to present HCCPA 25-10, located at 6544 County Road 579. This is a privately initiated map amendment that is small in scale and approximately 15.64 acres. The applicant is requesting to change the future land use category from Residential 1 and Residential 4 to Light Industrial Planned. This is the general location map. The site is in the rural area and within the limits of the Tonota-Sassa Community Plan. This is an aerial photo of the site outlined here in pink. The blue line is representing the urban service area boundary, with the east of the line being the rural area, including the site. It is located north of West Pruitt Road, west of Mango Road, and south of Davis Pool Road. Within the vicinity of the site, there is single-family residential and vacant uses to the north, west, and south. There are agricultural uses to the northeast and south, and public quasi-public uses to the south. Additionally, there are industrial and commercial uses further south of the site along the County Road 579 corridor, which is where the community plan envisions these type of uses. Here we have some site photos. This one is looking at the site from Ennis Sheard Road, and we're facing south. This photo is looking down Ennis Sheard Road, facing west. This photo is looking onto the site from Mango Road, facing west. Here we're looking a bit further down on Mango Road, closer to Pruitt Road, and we're facing west. And then this is looking onto the site from Pruitt Road. The site is in the Residential 1 and Residential 4 land use categories. The Residential 1 allows for the consideration of agricultural, farms, ranches, residential, neighborhood commercial, offices, and multi-purpose projects. Residential 4 allows for the consideration of agricultural, residential, neighborhood commercial, office uses, and multi-purpose projects. Surrounding land use categories include Res 1 and Res 4 to the north and west of the site, with Res 4 to the south as well. To the east, there's Res 2, as well as public, quasi-public, and light industrial planned further to the southeast. The green lines on the map represent the coastal high hazard area. Additionally, the parcel directly to the east of the site was recently adopted to LIP under HC 2426, and you can see that represented in the map. The request is to change the site to light industrial planned, which allows for the consideration of uses such as agricultural, light industrial uses such as processing, manufacturing, recycling, and storage of materials as the predominant uses, including support offices, warehousing, and retail uses. No residential is allowed under this category. This slide outlines the potential impacts of the requested land use change. Currently under Res 1 and Res 4, the site can be considered for up to 47 dwelling units and 170,319 square feet of non-residential. The change to light industrial plan would not allow for the consideration of residential uses, but would allow for up to approximately 510,958 square feet of non-residential uses. The proposed amendment will result in the potential increase in commercial intensity and the introduction of industrial uses, and would eliminate the potential for residential development. This proposal has been reviewed by the commenting agencies, which you can find in your packet under the agency review section. There were no objections. However, the Hillsborough County Community and Infrastructure Planning Department commented that the submitted traffic study was insufficient. They stated that the trip generation was not done appropriately and the sufficiency review comments were not addressed. The proposed request is inconsistent with the following objectives and policies of the comprehensive plan. Future Land Use Section Objective 1.2 and Policy 1.2.1 related to rural areas is intended to provide areas for long-term agricultural uses, large lot residential uses, and undeveloped natural areas. Objective 3.1 and its associated policies relate to compatibility. The LIP Future Land Use category is not compatible with the single-family residential use to the north, west, and south of the site. The LIP category typically involves higher intensity uses that would be too stark of a contrast compared to the single-family homes and could disrupt the existing character of the area. The LIP Future Land Use category would not provide a gradual transition of use between the site and the surrounding lower intensity land use categories, such as Residential 1 and Residential 4. While there is existing LIP land use to the east across Mango Road, the lack of compatible transition on the remaining adjacent sides of the site raises concerns regarding land use compatibility, given the typical operating characteristics of the industrial uses allowed in this future land use category. The proposal is also inconsistent with Objective 4.1 and Policy 4.4.1 relating to neighborhood and community development. Although there is existing LIP land use to the east of the site, the predominant surrounding land use pattern is comprised mostly of single-family residential uses to the north, west, and south, as well as a church located to the south. The proposed request of LIP would not complement or appropriately integrate with the established residential character of the adjacent neighborhoods. Goal 2 of the Tenoda-Sasset Community Plan seeks to ensure that new development maintains and enhances Tenoda-Sasset's unique character and sense of place and provides a place for community activities and events. This goal of the plan would not align with the intent of the proposal, as introducing a potential increase in commercial intensity and the introduction of industrial uses does not preserve the existing character of the area. One of the strategies mentioned in the plan includes allowing commercial uses along State Road 579 south of Pruitt Road to I-4 in order to recognize the established heavy commercial and industrial uses in the area, which include a county landfill site and a concrete processing plant. The subject site lies north of Pruitt Road and outside of this focused geographical area outlined in the Tenoda-Sasset Community Plan, and therefore does not align with the intent of this strategy. Planning Commission staff recommends that the proposed map amendment be found inconsistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Does the applicant have a presentation?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Gina Grimes with the law firm of Bradley, Arendt, Bolt & Cummings, 1001 Water Street, Tampa, Florida. And I'm here this evening representing Provident Partners Real Estate, which is the applicant in this comp plan amendment. The staff report, as you know, makes the finding that the LIP comp plan amendment is inconsistent with the comp plan. And while it was a pleasure working with Willow and Jillian on this comp plan amendment, we disagree with their finding. In this presentation, we're going to go through and show you that the maps do not entirely and accurately classify the existing and the adjacent uses. The staff report also does not evaluate the entire surrounding area. We believe the location is consistent with the specific intent of the LIP category. The use and density impacts that are in the staff report are overstated compared to the companion PD. And then the Planning Commission's August 2022 evaluation and history of development and development trend in this area, we believe will justify a finding of consistency. So the location, as you heard, is on the northwest corner of County Road 579 and Pruitt Road, and it's 15.5 acres. It's directly across from the Mango Road from another LIP site that was recently approved. It was approved unanimously by this Planning Commission, and it was also approved unanimously by the Board of County Commissioners. And I want to mention something about that plan amendment. My client tonight was the same applicant as for that plan amendment on the east side of Mango Road for the same comp plan category, LIP. And so you may be wondering, why is your client filing another comp plan amendment for the same comp plan category for a similar project? And the answer to that is recent changes in the market, especially market conditions related to tariffs. Our capital partners believe that it's not in their best interest at this time to move forward with the site across the street, that they're better off proposing this site, which is a smaller product, on a smaller site. So they would like to begin a project that was in fact smaller. So back to the subject property, all the parcels are undeveloped, and they have either abandoned accessory structures or they have pasture land. And then one other thing I'd like to mention about the subject property, it's not in the urban service area, but it is served by county water and sewer, and that's due to the proximity to the Taylor Road landfill site. So the subject property, there's just a couple photos. I think the ones Willow showed were, I think, even better. And then like to address some of the adjacent uses. The staff report describes the existing use as agricultural, and then they describe the surrounding use as residential and institutional. I want you to note that one of the parcels on the subject property is already zone CN, and then the institutional use, the church that's south of the subject site, is actually already zone CG. So it is correct that on the north, south, and west boundaries, you have mostly vacant parcels and some residential uses. East across 579, you have that sewage treatment facility that recently was approved for the LIP comp plan amendment. And then at the southeast corner of County Road 579 in Pruitt, which is catty corner to this site, is an actual office, a PD for an office development. And so the point of all this is that the surrounding development is not all residential and institutional, and some of the adjacent parcels have more intensive uses and more intensive zoning. And so this aerial just gives you an idea of that immediate surrounding area. The star obviously is the subject property, and you can see there are some vacant parcels and a few residential parcels adjacent to the site. So going to the existing, turning to the existing use map, we believe that it's inaccurate when it comes to what the actual uses are on the ground. To give you a couple examples, there are several parcels that are identified as agricultural, and in fact they have intense uses like the one east of the site, which is a sewage treatment plant, but it's shown on here as agricultural. And then there are several borrow pits to the north of this site that are also shown as agricultural. The large parcel that you see in blue is identified as public, semi-public. That's in fact the Taylor Road landfill. So it's also an intensive use, even though it's shown on the map as public, semi-public. So when you zoom out even further, you will get a better sense of the intensive uses in the surrounding area. And I'll go through and take you from south to north along Mango Road, 579, and show you what those other intensive uses are. Number one is an 80-acre RV dealership with open storage of vehicles and vehicle repair. Number two is a hotel, two hotels. Site number three is a 17-acre truck dealership with open storage of vehicles and vehicle repair. 4 is convenience stores, gas stations, and restaurants. Site 5 is a 48-acre RV park. Site 6, again, is the 180-acre county landfill. Site 7 is a 25-acre concrete manufacturing plant that's only a quarter mile south of the subject property. Site 8 is a 300,000 square foot warehouse distribution facility, also just a quarter mile south of the site. Site 9, which is east of the subject property, is a yard trash processing facility. 10 is a citrus grove and processing. 11 is a truck yard, and north of that, Site 12 is a very large borrow pit. Site 13 is a 19-acre Florida gas transmission utility facility, and 14 is another borrow pit. And then beyond 14 is a very large truck terminal at the terminus of Mango Road, where it intersects with 301. This is Southeastern Freight Line's truck terminal, and north of that is a storage yard. So when you look at the comp plan and the specific intent of the LIP plan category, there are 2 sections under specific intent that essentially say the same thing, and that is that this land use plan category will be used in transportation routes in areas where there is not a concentration of industrial uses, and in areas where various concerns and impact to adjacent development can be addressed through site planning. And so the description of an appropriate location for the LIP is exactly the type of area that we're proposing in this comp plan amendment. It's a transportation route, it's outside of a concentrated area of industrial uses, and it's a situation where impacts can be mitigated with a site plan. And that's what I'd like to talk about next. And that is, unlike most comp plan amendments, the LIP comp plan category requires a companion plan development rezoning to be filed. And we have filed that rezoning, and it is scheduled for the zoning hearing master on August 18th. As you heard, staff's principal concern is compatibility with adjacent uses. Well, the PD allows us to address that issue directly. The PD incorporates compatibility measures to buffer these adjacent uses. It's a large site, 15.5 acres. We can incorporate large setbacks. We have 80 feet on the north, 60 on the south, 85 on the east, from 190 to 375 on the west. And then we have compatibility measures that are going to include a 50-foot buffer area on the north and the west, a buffer wall on 3 sides except for across the front, and then a 2-acre retention pond along the western boundary. And I want to note the extensive buffering specifically on the north and on the western boundaries closest to the residential. You have those large setbacks, a 2-acre retention pond, a wall, and then also a buffer area. And we discussed with staff the fact that the staff analysis doesn't consider the required companion PD. They explained that they are governed strictly by the adopted comp plan policies and they can't look to that. But because this PD is linked to this comp plan amendment and because they will be heard together and can only be heard together, we think it is appropriate to consider what's in the PD. And the potential impacts as stated in the staff report is a 0.75 FAR, when in fact in the PD it's a 0.28. It's less than 1/3 of the maximum allowed. And then the allowable uses as stated in the staff report are broader than what we're proposing. We have proposed and limited the PD through the PD only 4 uses: warehousing, wholesale distribution, open storage that's accessory only, and then manufacturing, processing, and assembly. And then the staff report notes that residential uses are not permitted, but there is also evidence that I'll discuss in just a minute that states that residential uses may not be appropriate given the proximity to the Taylor Road landfill. So the history of the development trend was addressed in August of 2022 when the Planning Commission wrote a memorandum to the Board of County Commissioners. The commissioners asked for an evaluation of the future land use pattern in the area. And in the memo, even 3 years ago, it was recognized by the Planning Commission staff that the larger parcels along this corridor are predominantly developed with non-residential uses. And the larger parcels, specifically the one that includes the Cascrete facility, is approximately 25 acres with a heavy industrial use. And then it also goes on to state that it was recognized at the time, meaning that when the 1995 land use policy was adopted, it was recognized at the time that the presence of the landfill in this area could present concerns with residential development due to well contamination. So there is a question about, the location of residential in the vicinity of Taylor Road and the well contamination that might affect that residential. Also indicative of the development trend in the area, within the last 5 years, the Board of County Commissioners has approved 3 comp plan amendments to the same comp plan category, LIP, on Mango Road. So you have, in 2018, they approved LIP for the parcel south of this subject property, which is developed as a 300,000 square foot warehouse distribution facility. Then in 2022, they adopted LIP for another property south of the subject property. That parcel is not yet developed. And then in 2024, 2025 is when the more recent LIP comp plan amendment was approved directly east of the subject property. And as you know, that remains undeveloped. So it's clear that the trend in this area is to heavy commercial and light industrial uses. And I would note that no other reviewing agencies have objections, although Willow mentioned that the county transportation staff had an issue with the transportation analysis. In the end, they concluded that the comp plan amendment would result in a decrease of daily and PM peak hour trips. So respectfully, we would request your recommendation of approval or consistency to the Board of County Commissioners. We believe it is consistent with the existing commercial and industrial development in the area, and that the requirement for the PD ensures that you'll have buffer compatibility, limited light industrial uses, and also a lower FAR. And you know what? I skipped a page back. I'm going to go back to the Thanota-Sassa plan. I don't think I addressed that. The staff report also discussed that, and that was a policy that dates back 30 years to 1995. Because of that, because of it being 30 years old, it is outdated, and it doesn't reflect current development trends. But even in 1995, the Thanota-Sassa Community Plan specifically allowed for commercial uses along 579 south of Pruitt Road. So they drew Pruitt Road as a dividing line. The subject property abuts this intersection, and now Pruitt Road and 579, that intersection is a major intersection, and it's so much of a major intersection that the county has a CIP improvement for a major intersection improvement there. And we think that improvement makes this artificial dividing line of Pruitt Road to be no longer relevant. And then also the Thanota-Sassa plan also assumes rural service, and again, this corridor is served by county public water and sewer, which is another reason we believe that the community plan should be updated. So I'm going to close with that, and I'm available for any questions if you have any.
All right. Thank you. We didn't have anyone sign up in the public comment for this one, so I will turn it over to the commissioners for questions. Discussion. Yes, Commissioner Sieben.
What was staff supportive of the last application, Ms. Grimes? I don't know if you want to answer that, but the last application that came through, the one that was across the street?
No, they were not.
Okay.
They also made a finding of inconsistency on that as well.
Okay. Thank you. And just my initial thought thinking through this, we just had a conversation 2 hours ago about how we're potentially losing a lot of light industrial in the county and how we need more of it. And I think Ms. Grimes made a pretty decent argument that this might be a good location for some of that. And it seems that there is a decent amount of that already here. So just wanted to make that note.
I'll make a correction that we're losing industrial in the city, not necessarily the county, but point well taken. Any other questions, comments, discussion items on this one? Clarifications, Ms. Juanita?
Sure. I did just want to clarify that the Thanona-Sassa Community Plan was adopted in 2004. It's still dated, and something that we'll be looking at updating as part of that urban service area expansion that's looked at along the I-4 corridor. We're looking to see whether there are updates that are needed. But I just wanted to clarify, it wasn't 1995, it was 2004.
I did have a question about some of the claims made by the applicant about the inconsistencies in the staff report and things like that. I didn't know if you guys wanted to speak to that. There were a lot of claims made, if you will, on inconsistencies and shortcomings in the staff reports. I didn't know if...
I don't know if Willow wants to address anything, but I mean, I would say that some of the things, what is zoned, for example, that their property zoned CN or CG, that's allowed within the residential and residential 1 or residential 4 land use categories. So it is expected that there would be some neighborhood serving commercial in the area. That's not necessarily incompatible with single-family residential or rural residential or agricultural uses. The other thing that I made note of in her presentation is that land excavations are considered an agricultural use in terms of what's allowed in agricultural zoning. They require a special use, but don't require rezoning or anything like that. So that's certainly it's maybe a more intensive agricultural use, and we would expect there to be more intensive agricultural uses in the rural area.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Sieben.
I think I might have a question for the applicant. The church, there is a church just to the south of the property. Is it abandoned? It looks abandoned. I was just looking at on Google Earth. I don't know if you know.
I don't think it is.
Okay, thank you.
That's the site that's zoned CG.
All right. Are there any other questions, comments? I'd like to remind everyone, just to kill some time also, that if someone's going to make a motion against staff, that we're going to need some policies and some objectives to make that motion. So let's make sure we're looking and aware and ready, just in case that becomes a reality. Are there any more questions and discussion items from the commissioners? Not seeing any going, nope, going once, going twice. I'll close the public comment on this and open it up to motions from the commissioners on this item. Commissioner Sieben.
I'd like to make a motion to find HCCPA 25-10 Comprehensive Plan Amendment 6544 County Road 579 as compatible with the comprehensive plan, given policies 3.1.1 and 3.1.2.
Second. All right, we have a motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Sieben, citing policies 3.1.1 and 3.1.2. Second to that motion by Commissioner Kona. Are there any questions, discussions, the commissioners? Not seeing any. Then we'll all signify their agreement by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Nay. All right, I think we're going to need a roll call vote on this one.
Buzza,
No.
Kona,
Yes.
Kress,
No.
Kugler,
No.
Linkus,
No.
Sieben, Joseph,
No.
motion failed 2-5.
Thank you. All right. Next up, item 2. Ooh.
We I think need a motion.
Oh, yeah,
in
sorry,
the
I forgot it
affirmative
failed, yeah. All right.
for a recommendation.
Right. Reopening it up to motions again. Sorry, I was ready to get out of here. Commissioner Sieben?
I just had a quick question, wanted to speak on real quick. I'm just curious why, it sounds like we as a collective we were in support of the one across the site across the street for this same land use category. I guess I'm curious as to why we're opposed to it directly to the west.
would've voted
If anyone
no.
has an opinion on that. What?
I would have voted no on the one across the street.
Okay.
I get my consideration is that these this is an area sort of generally where a lot of industrial uses are coming in and rapidly changing the character, and I think making these changes piecemeal is not appropriate. It would call for greater study.
I'll say as for my part, when we open it up this wide, with deference to what Ms. Grimes spoke about, I understand that they're only asking for this, but we're opening it up to a lot. We opened it up across the street. Now they jumped across the street to here. So I'm with staff, probably opening it up a little too wide. Those are my thoughts. So, are there any other thoughts, comments, or motion out there? Commissioner Buzza.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we do find HCCPA 25-10 inconsistent with the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan and forward on to the County Commission.
All right, we have a motion of inconsistency finding. Is there a second anywhere out there? Second by Commissioner Linkus. All right, a motion of inconsistency finding by Commissioner Buzza, a second to that by Commissioner Linkus. Are there any questions, comments from the commissioners before we take this vote? I guess we should just send it over to roll call. Yeah.
Buzza,
Yes.
Kona,
No.
Kress,
Yes.
Kugler,
Yes.
Linkus,
Yes.
Sieben, Joseph.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-2. Commissioners Kona and Sieben voted no.
Thank you. All right. Now on to our next agenda item. All right. 2B HCCPA 25-11 Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment 6720 Van Dyke Road, USA expansion, and the presenter is Tyreek Royal.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tyreek Royal, Plan Commission staff. I'm here to present HCCPA 2511, located at 6720 Van Dyke Road for the Urban Service Area Expansion. This is a privately initiated map amendment, and it's a small in scale and approximately 21.73 acres. The applicant is requesting to expand the urban service area. This amendment is associated with HCCPA 2512, who requests to change the future land use category from residential 1 to residential 12. This is a general location map. As I mentioned in the last slide, this is associated with HCCPA 2512. It is in the rural area and within the limits of the Keystone Odessa Community Plan. It's located south of Van Dyke Road and west of the Suncoast Parkway. Here's the aerial of the site. The site is outlined in pink, and the blue line indicates a urban service area boundary. Now on the photo views, this is a shot facing towards the subject site. Here we're looking across Van Dyke Road with the subject site being situated behind the camera. This is facing west with the site being located to the left. And this is facing east with the site located to the right. The Veterans Expressway can be seen in the background. Now on to the impacts. The proposed amendment will bring 21.73 acres into the urban service area, requiring at a minimum connection to public water and sewer. The Fire Rescue Department commented that the proposed changes to this land would have an impact to Hillsborough County Fire Rescue, as additional dwellings would increase call volumes and responses, which could require the department to add an additional unit. The Community and Infrastructure Planning Department commented that based on the traffic analysis and information provided by the applicant, there is not adequate capacity to accommodate the additional generated trips by the proposed future land use designation of residential 12. This assumes that all 2045 cost-feasible improvements will be constructed. As for the consistency review, the proposed amendment is inconsistent with the following objectives and policies of the comprehensive plan. The proposal does not meet the intent of Flu Objective 4.4, Flu Policy 4.4.1 that require new development to be compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. In this case, the surrounding land use pattern is comprised mostly single-family residential uses to the west and south of the site. According to Flu Policy 3.1.2, gradual transitions of intensities and densities between different land uses shall be provided for as new development proposed through the use of professional site planning, buffering, screening techniques, and through the control of specific land uses. The residential 1 future land use category designation surrounds the site, which is the future land use category focused on low density residential development at 1 dwelling unit per gross acre. And the Keystone Odessa Community Plan desires to retain its rural residential sizes and character in areas of lakes, agricultural activities, and homes built on vacant, varied lot sizes and a scattered development pattern. Rural design guidelines were developed to implement the Keystone Odessa Community Plan in order to retain the rural residential character of the Keystone Odessa Community Plan. Based off that, Planning Commission staff recommends that the proposed map amendment be found inconsistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the applicant have a presentation?
Are y'all able to see the presentation now? All right, good evening. Jake Kramer, Stearns Weaver Miller, 401 East Jackson Street, number 2100. Mr. Chair, I'm going to address this presentation to both this application and the next one. They sort of run together, and you've got a big crowd out front, so I think that'll help keep us efficient. Again, Jake Kramer for the applicant. Mr. Chair, commissioners, I think staff missed a couple of really important, probably the most important factors of this application. And so I want to set the context for you because we're located really at the confluence of the Veterans Expressway, the Suncoast Parkway, and Van Dyke Road, right? So this is one of the busiest areas in northwestern Hillsborough County. You can see that we are adjacent to a large residential community to the west. Staff mentioned that. What staff didn't mention was anything that's on the east. Right, so you're going to see a lot of multifamily on the east, and we'll get there. But first, again, I want to help set the scene. The board has already given policy direction on this site. This is what's approved on this site today. 110,000 square feet of commercial use, right? So if you think back in the old days when we did traditional Walmarts, not the really big ones, but I mean that's the size of a Walmart, about 100,000 square feet. That's what's approved on this site today. That's the policy direction the board gave decades ago for this site. What we're proposing is a much better transition, 127 for sale townhomes. And I'll explain shortly why the for sale piece is important. Again, you have to keep in mind, I watched the presentation earlier today where we were talking about, we're studying whether to expansion, we're studying whether to and where we're going to expand the urban service boundary. But we can't expect to cram all of these people, 353,000 people, down in South County, right? And so we have to look for other opportunities. So that's why we filed 3 applications. So we filed an application for a comp plan amendment to Res 12. We filed an application for technical reasons only for an urban service area expansion. And we filed our companion rezoning. When you look at the future land use map, there's Res 12 a stone's throw away from this property, right? And you know why? It's because it's adjacent to the expressway, right? We don't put single-family homes adjacent to the expressway. We know that creates problems, right? A lot of times we do put commercial very close as well to the expressway, which is why the site has commercial entitlements. That's why the site adjacent to the east is an office park. So this, what we're proposing is for this site to become a transitional use, and why I thought the existing land use map that was in the staff report is so helpful is look at the sea of orange to just to the northeast of the site, right? That is, all of that is multifamily. If you look just to the south of Van Dyke, it's kind of mixed green and orange because the green is community space, but there's also multifamily use there, right? And then we've got this subdivision to the west that is it might be a lot of things, but it's not rural. That is not rural. And so the board set the policy direction of all of this many years ago before the Keystone Plan came into existence, and that's what's really important also on this site. So now we get to, I get it. I realize the urban service boundary map we're proposing looks a little weird, right? Because we're having to navigate around DOT parcels. But here's why I say it's really just a technical request. This is the water service area and the wastewater service area, right? So the board has already said this area is appropriate. The county has invested in water and wastewater in this area, and really important, the board has mandated that this site, no matter what is built there, this site has to connect to water and wastewater. So the county made the investment, and all of these sites in this area, including the neighborhood to the west, they all have to connect to utilities, right? So there's been this big public investment of road infrastructure and utilities. So as odd as it sounds, the only reason we're asking for an urban service boundary expansion is to give an ownership opportunity, right? So we talked to development services staff, and what they said was, you don't have to ask for that expansion if you build these as rental product where you don't require things like platting and you could master meter the entire thing. We would prefer to be able to plat the property and not have a master meter and have these as this is for sale townhome product. So I realize it sounds odd, but it's really a technical request. So with that, I'm going to have David Smith talk a little bit about the community planning context, and then I'll wrap up. Thanks.
Good evening, David Smith, Stearns Weaver Miller, Director of Development and Zoning. I think Jake framed this pretty well. So if you look at the location here, you say, gee, it's in the Keystone Odessa plan, but it is on the far western boundary of the plan. It is also, this site is surrounded by Van Dyke Farms, which is in the same PD that this particular parcel is in, and it's authorized and approved for 110,000 square feet. In looking in the context, would this change the Keystone Odessa community plan context and vision for rural community? Not by a long shot. There's no way that this isolated piece, given its location, and I'll try to get a graphic up here that gives you a better context. So when you look at this plan, we have the residential immediately to our west. At an angle to the north is all public land. It's all environmental land. So there is no adjacent piece of property that would be able to come in and expand, because using this as a precedent, and it's impossible to find this as incompatible with the adjacent property given its transitional characteristics. There is no 1-to-5 zoning and land use close to us. We are surrounded by basically FDOT land and the office development across the street, which is owned by the same owner of the parcel that we're in here for tonight. And when you look at the standards for review and what you should be looking at when you're proposing a comprehensive plan amendment is you look in the overall context. And if in the overall context, do you say, will this adversely affect the vision for the area? No. There is water and sewer and reclaimed water. Surprisingly, there's probably only 10% of the county has reclaimed water available. This site and Van Dyke in this area has reclaimed water available that we must connect to. So this is a unique piece of property. There's already approved for higher density. And when you look at the provisions for the board to consider amendments, the policies are no longer in the best interest of the public. The opportunities here on this particular site is that it remains commercially zoned. That is, it is eligible for a live local multifamily development. However, we can solve that problem with a plan amendment to Res 12 that allows townhome development. And to Jake's point, the only reason you had a single lot, the way the policies are written for One Water to connect, in the rural area, you can connect one lot with one connection. So therefore, we could do 127 or 155 rental townhomes out here, but would require a plan amendment. But we still have to connect with one connection. This allows each one of the individual lots to connect to water and sewer at a lesser density. And then it says, if you find that it's no longer in the best interest of the public, that this doesn't set any precedent for erosion of the community plan, that you should change the plan to reflect the request. And again, looking at this, it's a transitional. We have the expressway. On the other side, we have multifamily. We have an office development that is currently approved, surrounded by wetlands, not going to get any bigger. We have this parcel, and we have an established Dover Farms community, which is supportive of us changing this to essentially protect them from alternative uses that could go on the site under today's statutes. So I would find, it's my professional opinion, that this is consistent with the plan when you look at the global plan and the purposes by which we do amendments. You never find anything consistent if you say we have to review everything in the static nature, because we wouldn't be asking for a change if we were exactly like everything around us. So I have any questions you have, I'd be glad to answer them. Thank you very much. Yep, one other thing, I'm sorry. I'll let Jake jump on this. This is an indication of the improvements now planned. Van Dyke Road's going to be widened from Tobacco Road, which is one of the roads we front on, back to the east. And there's going to be trail improvements on Van Dyke all the way out to Gun Highway. That's the $138 million project. Obviously, somebody thinks investments are warranted in this area, and you usually don't make investments in a rural area.
Thanks, David. Jake Kramer again. I think that's a good place to wrap up. Again, this application is unique because it's almost like we all forgot that there's this little corner of Keystone that is not rural. I realize that if I were to propose this in most anywhere else in Keystone, that it would not be the right fit. But when the county has put this much infrastructure into this area, and just in the news recently, talking about $138 million more in this area, I think this is the right place for a transitional use like townhomes, again, instead of a commercial center that could be the size of a traditional Walmart. So with that, our team's here if you have any questions, and we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We did have a couple people sign up for this one, so I will start out with those online to see if they are online still. Let us try Barbara Adderhold. Is Barbara Adderhold on the line?
Have I been unmuted?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Excellent. I hate being muted. Barbara Adderhold, Northwest Hillsborough County. Your Planning Commission staff has done a very thorough analysis of the CPA. I agree with their finding of inconsistency, which is not going to surprise anyone, because my biggest fear is in piercing the Keystone Odessa Community Plan. I know this property has entitlements. They've had it for decades. They could, I think, build Van Dyke Home Estates Phase 2 if they so desired. Disagree with Mr. Kramer that townhomes are compatible with the surrounding area, because to their west, Van Dyke Farms is not, it's zoned R1, as are all the properties south of it. And I worry that if you say yes to this, you can call it unique all day long, but there is property to the north that is also R1. And how can you say no to them when you've already extended the urban service area? And I got to ask, how does a carve out like this really make sense? So I do think it conflicts with policy 3.1. This past April, you found 300 plus acre parcel on Lutz Lake Fern Road inconsistent. This one is different because it does have entitlements, but nonetheless, to me, this is another attempt to nibble away at our community plans. If we could figure out a way to take the commercial and make it into residential, I would not have the heartburn that I have right now. So I'm going to say, please find this inconsistent. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Sherry Zuns. Sherry Z. Is she on the line?
Sherry has not signed in.
Okay, what about, I think looks like it virtually. In person, no, okay. We'll go to the people here now, and I will start off with...
I'm on the list, Karen Potter.
Karen Potter.
Karen Potter. Oh, Karen is for the next item, I believe. Oh, I am? I'm sorry.
Let's keep everybody online muted until it's their turn to speak, please. Thank you.
Sorry.
All right, we'll go back to the people in the room now. We'll start off with Melissa Nordbeck. Come on down.
Good evening, Melissa Nordbeck, Keystone, Odessa. The Community Planning Act mandates that all local governments adopt and maintain a comprehensive plan that guides future land development and then adhere to that plan when making individual development decisions. The law requires that comprehensive plans establish meaningful and predictable standards for the use and development of land. All development must be consistent with all elements of the comprehensive plan. All provisions of a comprehensive plan are enforceable under the Act. The county is empowered by statute to disapprove an application if it finds that a proposal is inconsistent with any of the objectives in the comprehensive plan. Consistency is the fundamental relation between the norm and the compared item. If the compared item is exemplified by the norm, it is consistent with it, but if the compared item deviates or departs in any direction or degree from the parameters of the norm, the compared item or action is not consistent with the norm. Res 1 to Res 12 is not consistent. The comprehensive plan as a whole, including the future land use map and all of the other policies of the plan, consists of legislative policies that must be applied to determine what uses can be made of a specific tract of land. A comprehensive plan is not a tool for making individual zoning changes. Instead, it is a broad statement of a legislative objective to protect human, environmental, social, and economic resources, and to maintain, through orderly growth and development, the character and stability of present and future land use and development. Using comp plan amendments to justify extreme deviations from the existing comprehensive plan, and even more egregious from specific community plans, distorts and degrades the intent of community planning. Cheapening the comp plan amendment process to enact as a mere paperwork requirement for a rezoning is offensive and should be met with swift dissent. Instead, a comp plan amendment should be held to a much higher and distinctive use. It should be used as intended, a meaningful and predictable standard, not a workaround for an inconsistent rezoning forced on residents that expect their elected representatives to uphold their community plans and to protect their chosen way of life. The Keystone Community Plan is there to protect the community from urban sprawl. Thank you.
Well said, Ms. Nordbeck. All right. Next up, we have Regina Hernandez.
Hello, I'm Regina Hernandez. I live at 8703 Lake Com Lane, Odessa, Florida. I want to thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. I adamantly oppose the expansion of the urban service area in the Keystone Odessa community because it goes against our Keystone Odessa community plan and our way of life. I am not opposed to the growth that this property is already approved for, which is R1. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have I'm going to say it because they didn't say what they wanted to speak on, Christine Elliott. Is Christine Elliott here? No. Vernon Elliott? Try again. Nope. Okay. Then next up we have, I'll start with Michael Beam.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Beam, and I live at 6401 Thoroughbred Loop in Van Dyke Farms. I'm in that eastern fringe of the Van Dyke, or of the Keystone Odessa community. But I don't think that my views should be discounted just because I'm on the outside edge of that community. In fact, I've lived in this community since 2003, and I'm one of the first homes in Van Dyke Farms. I am one of the closest homes to the proposed development of this property, and am likely to experience its impact perhaps more than some of my neighbors who live at the back of the neighborhood. Van Dyke Farms is a 423 home community on several acres, many times the size of this parcel that's under review here. Yet the developer or the applicant seeks to include another 127 to 153 homes on this parcel, which is anywhere from 30 to 36% of the entire number of homes within my community. My home sits on a parcel that is just over an acre, putting this density population that close to my house is not consistent, it's not compatible, it's not anything has been characterized by the applicant. The big orange zone that you saw on the map there, that's Lake Carlton Arms, an apartment community that's been there for years and years and years. We have a buffer in the Veterans Expressway between our neighborhood and that area. The overpass shields us from that, so there's trying to jump over that and eat away at our side. There's really no consistency there whatsoever. My wife and I chose that location over many that we looked at in the Tampa Bay area because of the low density of the population there. Large lots, mature trees, a rural setting, yet still convenient to Tampa, to our work in Pasco County. Many amenities that we really enjoy. There's the Brooker Creek watershed, which is diagonal from this property, sits just across Van Dyke Road and probably less than 2/10 of a mile to the west, with walking trails. We've got all kinds of natural beauty there that we can go and decompress at the end of the day. And so I would urge you to follow the staff recommendation. This plan is definitely inconsistent for the reasons cited by staff. I would point out an inconsistency in the proposed resolution, though, on page 19. It says that there is that the staff finds that the plan is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan, but then in the resolution says inconsistent. So I would just point out that inconsistency in the resolution.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Time's up.
Appreciate it.
All right. Next up, we have Catherine Beam. Nope. You give it up? Okay. Next up, let me make sure I got everybody there. All right. Next up, we will try Lisa Kasson, Lisa K. Kasson, sorry.
Hi, I'm Lisa Kasson. I'm a resident of Van Dyke Farms as well. Like my neighbor, although I live in the very back of the subdivision, and I bought a home under construction there 29 years ago, this June 1st, and I am the original homeowner on that home. And I am one of the people who walked around the neighborhood and collected signatures to get reclaimed water allowed and approved in Van Dyke Farms for Van Dyke Farms neighborhood, along with several of my neighbors who are on this call on Zoom right now. And we are all adamantly against this proposal, and for the same exact reasons that have been already outlined in this meeting. And I just want to say one other thing, that we have always had bluebird houses in our backyard. Our lot is almost an acre, and this year, every year we have bluebird houses. Almost every year they have babies. This year is the very first year that we have had 3 clutches of baby bluebirds in our boxes. And it's really a great neighborhood and a great place to live, partially because we do have a lot of land around us that is undeveloped. And as I've lived here over 29 years, it has really changed. And there's a lot of single-family homes that have been built around Van Dyke Farms. And that huge area that they showed on the map that was apartments, those apartments were there long before I moved here. They were already here. They were already old when I moved here 29 years ago. So that isn't really a consideration. I think it's more of what this development is going to do to the neighborhood and the surrounding areas. And I worry that my bluebirds will not be able to keep going when they don't have those huge fields around us to go and hunt for insects. And I also worry about what 147 homes, how many kids are going to be coming into our already overcrowded schools, elementary, middle, and high school. And I worry about how many cars are going to be on the road right there where there's no light to pull out on. There's no easy way to come in and out. And so I adamantly am against it, and I really hope that you will vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Julio Moran. Is Julio Moran here? No? All right, I will try then Christy Mackey. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, you're correct. D. Holly Lane. Beth White. Is Beth White here? Yes.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Beth White, 17905 Burrell Road, and I'm here to represent the Keystone Civic Association. We strongly oppose CPA 2511. The Keystone Community Plan addresses density, roads, and environmental protections to uphold the rural character of the Keystone Odessa community. This property is on a hayfield within the planned boundary. Last year, the applicant pulled a Live Local application from the site after outrage from the community. Outrage of density, environmental destruction, water conservation, increased traffic, and overcapacity of our schools. This proposed urban expansion would have the same result, with overbuilding of Res 12 density, which allows up to 153 townhomes, the same environmental destruction, water conservation, increased traffic, and overcapacity of our schools. Please vote inconsistent. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Angela Murphy.
Good evening. I'm Angela Murphy. I live at 18026 Linda Woods in Keystone. I'm here to oppose the 2511. Not sure why the Van Dyke expansion was mentioned, because I don't even know if that's budgeted for yet, actually, or where the Walmart comments came from. This is a Res 1 to Res 12, which is a lot. I think that's a little more than a technical request. It changes our density. I believe Barbara, Missy, Michael, Regina, I think they've all made very well good points as to why this is inconsistent. It goes against our community comprehensive plan, puts our schools and our community over capacity. As already mentioned, we're low density. We do not have the resources for this development, and honestly, we do not want that to change. We like our rural way of community in our life. It's why we all moved here. And due to always having to come down here to fight for what our community plan does stand for, makes it hard for us to enjoy our simple everyday lives. I have come to these meetings, and I hear developers, attorneys say that people are coming and we need the homes, but we're not a movie script. If you build it, they will come. I don't know where the 73% growth comes from, because in 2024 alone, 500,000 people left Hillsborough County. Traffic, prices, it's not because they don't have homes. They did not want to be here. They don't like the development and the traffic. I don't see where any of us residents have benefited from the exodus into Florida during COVID as well. So why would I want to make room for those that are not coming? It's tearing away and destroying our wildlife. I have seen an eagle on this land. On the tobacco side, there's been an eagle a couple times in the pine trees. There's an osprey nest across the street on some poles. I enjoy seeing that every time I drive by. I feel like the more our comprehensive plan is chopped and whittled away, the more chances you give to other developers. We do not oppose growth when and where it makes sense. I do not oppose what it is currently zoned for, which is what he knew it was zoned for when he bought it. I just would like to say I adamantly oppose this, as it does go against our community plan. Please vote inconsistent. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. That's all we had signed up in the public comment. So I will turn it back over to the applicant for response. 3 minutes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Jake Kramer again. Could we pull the presentation back up, please? So one of the residents mentioned that the apartments were existing for at least 29 years ago, and that's kind of what I meant, that the board started setting the precedent for what was going to happen out in this area back in 1990 when they approved the initial rezoning with our commercial, with the commercial that's built next door. So that's really when they started to set that policy direction. And Ms. Adderholt, actually she and I don't agree on much, but I do agree with her, because she said, if you could take the commercial and make it residential, then it would be something she wouldn't oppose. Now, I don't think this is what she meant, but that's what the legislature did. That's what they did with Live Local. A previous developer filed Live Local for 453 apartments. The county changed its policies to prevent that application from moving forward. And then you know what happened? The legislature was so upset about that application and a couple of others around the state that they came back and they overturned the county. So a Live Local application can be filed on this property, and it will be filed at some point if this application doesn't move forward. I mean, this landowner has rights. They have vested rights to development in this area. Now, to be clear, my client's not going to be the one to file that. I'm not threatening you. I'm just saying this is what's going to happen because it already has. So the context is of this property is a previous developer filed for apartments. That could be filed at any time again, right? Or the existing entitlements over 100,000 square feet. And I just happen to think, I don't think I'm alone in this room, but I happen to think that some for sale townhomes would be a much better transition from the very intense development on the east. And then you have the expressway, you have commercial adjacent to this, and then you have a suburban development next door. Last comment that I'll leave you with. I know there are folks here from the development next door, but I did want to mention that we have had a number of meetings with Van Dyke Farms, with the HOA. We do have a letter of no objection from them, from the most affected HOA in this area adjacent to our west. So with that, I'll close. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Over to the commissioners now for questions, comments, discussions. Commissioner Sieben.
I don't know if there's anyone from the county here, but just in case there is, I've dealt with that scenario that Mr. Kramer was talking about, with the ability to avoid platting only if single-family attached homes are for rent, and that feels like a very dubious standard and maybe warrants looking at from the county. I did have a clarifying question for Mr. Kramer. So this is R1, right? So
yes.
Is it is it residential single family, or is there, are there entitlements for 100,000 square feet of a Walmart, like you said?
There's both. So what people don't understand a lot of times is that R1, that doesn't just mean residential. There can be commercial nodes within R1, and that's where that amount of commercial square footage came from in the PD.
Okay, that was what I wanted to ask. Just my commentary on this. I do think the Keystone Plan was designed to preserve rural land, but the truth is that this isn't rural land. This site is a football field away from a multifamily community with a highway in between. And the problem we face is, no one wants more residential anywhere. We hear it, in the unincorporated county. We hear it in the city of Tampa. But we have to adjust and plan for growth somewhere. And higher density right next to a highway really seems like the right place to do that. And someone mentioned that people are leaving. They are leaving, and it's because they can't afford to live here. So the problem is that either we, sitting in this room, get to pay more in property taxes, or more people pay into our property taxes. And that's how that macroeconomic situation ends up working.
All right. Thank you. Are there any other comments? Commissioner Kugler, maybe? Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I just want to make sure that my reading of the document was correct. I noted on this one that this is also very close or onto the source for the Brooker Creek, which flows down through the Brooker Creek Preserve and so on into Tarpon Lake eventually. And I wasn't certain if I had read it correctly. I just wanted to get clarification on that. And also, I understand that it is in the CHHA, Coastal High Hazard, and Flood Zone AE, which may be a concern for adding more development in those areas.
So it is in a portion of the site is in the flood zone, and it is at the headwaters of Brooker Creek Preserve. Yeah, the Brooker Creek Preserve headwater, yes. But it is not in the coastal high hazard area. Yeah.
All right. Good clarifications. Are there any other questions, comments? I'll also throw in another advertisement here that if we are going to go against staff again, remember, we're going to need some objectives and policies to support that. So be thinking of that as we go forward. Commissioner Linkus.
I just want to just commend the sort of merit of education that this community has, obviously over many, many times being here, but you certainly know the plan well.
Thank you, Commissioner Linkus. Are there any other comments, questions, or discussion items from the Commissioner? Commissioner Cronin.
I mean, I don't know if I have the votes, and I appreciate the people at Keystone and Odessa. I think they do a great job of advocating. I live out that way, and I think we were all kind of lockstep about the Lutz Lake Fern area and how that would definitely be hazardous, I think, to what you guys do. This one, I think, is kind of makes sense. I think the county commission is going to approve this regardless of what we say, quite honestly. I don't know if I have the votes to change it tonight, but I'll go with whatever recommendation you guys, whatever motion you guys make.
All right. Good comments, good points. Are there any other thoughts, questions, discussion items from the commissioners? Going once. Commissioner Seaman?
I sort of wanted to go with what Commissioner Kona said, but I don't really want to make a motion if it's going to die, so maybe we need any more discussion about it.
All right. Any more discussion? Anybody want to share any thoughts? Commissioner Linkus?
I just feel like this is one of many that we've seen where I will be voting for consistency with the staff's findings. I just feel that we've looked at quite a lot of places where it's just across the street, it's just next to this, but we're also looking at very serious environmental impacts. We're looking at long-standing community plans. We're looking at where there's already been a lot of entitlements, where there's already a lot of rights to develop, and how much this community needs to compromise. It doesn't feel that it's consistent with anything in the plan to me. So that will be where my vote lies.
In Thank you, Commissioner Linkus. Commissioner Kona?
I think it's important to know that something's going to get built on this property. So it's not.
Oh, turn your mic back on.
Oh, sorry. Something's going to get built here. I would rather, living in that area, rather not it be a Walmart. And I think I think the R12 makes sense for that piece of property. I don't think it makes sense anywhere else, but I think on that piece of property at that location, I think it makes sense there. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think I have the votes to make it consistent. So
I'll say that I live out there too, and I disagree with you, Commissioner Kona. I'll be the pushback on you. When you think of that area, if we think of it now, Gun Highway, right? There's a shopping plaza there with the grocery store, residential all down Van Dyke to the highway. That spot right there might be a good place for some sort of small neighborhood serving commercial because it's in between. The only other big commercial you have again after that, you have a Circle K gas station right in front of the apartment complex, and you have a strip, not really useful commercial right after that with a restaurant in there. The next big commercial you have is Publix, and in between that you have Grace Family Church that causes problems on the road, okay? So I think there's a mix of things going on out there that being someone who lives out there and someone who grew up out there and someone who probably caused Ms. Casson a little bit of heartbreak back in the days when I was at Gaither High School, I can see how this spot back then would be seen as commercial, and I'm not so sure it should be shifted. And I get that a Live Local could come in and make it something way more, but that wouldn't be us making it something it shouldn't be. That would be Live Local making it something it shouldn't be. And if the legislatures want to make it something it shouldn't be, that's on them, you know what I mean? So I would tend to agree with staff on this one. So that was my only thoughts on it.
Can I just pipe in real fast? I'm sorry, it's Karen Potter again.
No,
Karen Potter again.
please keep everybody online muted, please. Thank you. Back to the commissioners. Commissioner Sieben.
I appreciate that you're from there and live there now, so I think that opinion holds probably much more water than mine does. But I honestly, if I were to live in the neighborhood next door, I would prefer townhomes over a Walmart. It's just, it was my thought process on it.
Yes, Ms. Rodino.
I just wanted to mention, because I think, I believe Mr. Kramer, and he can tell me if I'm wrong, was using the comparison of the size of the square footage of what's approved to a Walmart. It is not technically approved for a Walmart, and I don't think in the residential one land use category, a big box retailer is a CI use in the zoning, so it wouldn't be allowed. But the size comparison is what I think Mr. Kramer was after.
Gotcha. Commissioner Cronin?
I just think the strongest argument that people had was the overcrowding of the schools. I do think that they don't have the infrastructure on a school side to take on that many more homes. So that's the one point, the one sticking point that I thought, making that townhomes would really cause the school district some trauma down there.
Commissioner Buzza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Commissioner Kona and Siebens about this is going to be built. I don't agree with the process that we had before us, which is that we can't consider a PD with it to ensure it's going to be this particular property. Until we change the process, either the county directs us to do something differently. I'm going to go with staff because it can change. We change this future land use, and it could be still anything within that category. The Hillsborough County Commission can overrule us.
Yeah.
So.
I do just want to clarify that. Is that true that something else could be built if it's R12, or is it only residential 12 to the acre?
No, and just for clarity, we're still on the amendment to expand the urban service area. But that's a good question. The residential 12 would allow up to 100 and, make sure I'm reading this right, 53 dwelling units. They could be townhomes or apartments, any form. It also would go from a 0.25 FAR for non-residential to a 0.5, so it would double the amount of square footage for non-residential that could be considered. So any of that up to that maximum could be asked for in a rezoning. Not saying they would get approved, but it could be requested.
Okay.
Commissioner Kress.
I'll just add that I do think that there is some merit to this site, like Commissioner Kona was pointing out, but I don't take expanding the urban service area lightly, and I kind of think there's an argument and for both sides on this one, but in this case, I'll be going with staff because we want density where people want density, and obviously it's not wanted here.
Good points. Any other questions, thoughts, discussion items on this one? You guys might want to make a motion. You might. I mean, Buzz is with you all, so you never know how it's going to shake out,
I'll make the motion.
Whoa, it's not open yet. Slow down. All right. Okay, so obviously no one has any more comments or questions or discussion, so I'll go ahead and close the public comment on this one and open it up to motions. Commissioner Kress.
Okay, thanks. I'll move that HCCPA 2511 be inconsistent with the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan.
All right, we have an inconsistency motion by Commissioner Kress. Is there
I'll second.
All right, a second by Commissioner Linkus. Are there any other questions, thoughts, comments from the commissioners? I will send it over for a roll call vote on this one.
Buzza,
Yes.
Kona,
Yes.
Kress. Yes. Kugler,
Yes.
Linkus. Yes. Sieben. No. Joseph.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1.
All right, thank you very much. Our next agenda item related to this one is 2C, HCCPA 25-12, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, 6720 Van Dyke Road, and the presenter is Tyreek Royal.
Good evening, everyone. Tyreek Royal again, Planning Commission staff, and I'll be presenting HCCPA 2512 at 6720 Van Dyke Road. This request is privately initiated small-scale map amendment with approximately 12.79 acres. The request is to change the future land use designation from residential 1 to residential 12. The location of the site is in the western portion of unincorporated Hillsborough County. It's in the rural area and within the limits of the Keystone Odessa Community Plan. This is an aerial photo of the site outlined in pink. The urban service area is indicated by the blue line. It is located south of Van Dyke Road, west of Tobacco Road. Surrounding uses include agricultural uses to the north, single-family uses to the west and south, and light commercial uses to the east. Now on the photo views, this is the shot facing the subject site. This is looking across Van Dyke Road with the subject site being situated behind the camera. This is facing west with the subject site being located to the left. And this is facing east with the subject site located to the right. And again, the Veterans Expressway can be seen in the background. The site is in a residential 1 future land use category. It allows for the consideration of agricultural, farms, ranches, residential, neighborhood, commercial, office, and multi-purpose projects. Commercial uses are subject to locational criteria. The applicant is requesting to change the future land use category from residential 1 to residential 12. The residential 12 allows for the consideration of agricultural, residential, neighborhood commercial, office uses, multi-purpose projects, and mixed-use developments. Onto the impacts. The change from residential 1 to residential 12 would allow for an increase in development by allowing higher residential density and greater commercial intensity. The density of one dwelling unit per gross acre would increase to 12 dwelling units per gross acre, and the commercial intensity would increase from a 0.25 FAR, or approximately 139,000 square feet, to a 0.5 FAR, or approximately 278,000 square feet. Agency review, the Fire Rescue Department commented that the proposed changes to this land would have an impact on HCFR, Hillsborough County Fire Resources, as additional dwelling units would increase call volumes and responses, could require the department to add an additional unit to the Van Dyke Road Fire Station. The Community and Infrastructure Planning Department commented that based on traffic analysis and information provided by the applicant, there is not adequate capacity to accommodate the additional generated trips by the proposed future land use designation change. The proposal is inconsistent with Flu Objective 1.2 and its associated policies regarding rural area development expectations. It's also inconsistent with Flu Objective 3.1 and its associated policies regarding compatibility. The proposal does not meet the intent of Flu Objective 4.4 and Flu Policy 4.4.1 that require new development to be compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. In this case, the surrounding land use pattern is comprised of mostly single-family residential uses to the west and south of the site. The Keystone Odessa Community Plan desires to retain its rural residential character as in areas of lakes, agricultural activities, and home built on varied lot sizes in a scattered development pattern. With that, Planning Commission staff recommend that the proposed map amendment be found inconsistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. I'll give you an opportunity to.
Jake Kramer with Stearns Weaver Miller. I would just like to ask for purpose of the record that my previous presentation be incorporated into the record here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We had another crew of people sign up for this one, so I will start out again online in the public comment with Karen Porter. It's your turn.
Hi, thank you. It's Karen Potter.
Potter, sorry.
P-O-T-T-E-R. That's okay. I was the one that unfortunately interrupted a couple times. I'm tech challenged, but I am very passionate about it in my community. I'm a Van Dyke Farms resident since 1992, as well as a teacher here in Hillsborough County. I predominantly teach at Hammond Elementary, and everybody keeps using the term overcapacity in the classroom, and that is an understatement. You mentioned anywhere from 127 to 155 condos that could possibly be built in that particular location. So I just did some math because I'm a teacher. And if you have approximately, on an average, 2 children per household, could be more, could be less, that's around 310 children that will eventually go to school. Yes, they will be spread out elementary, mid, and high school. But when you have an average number of students per classroom, which is 20 to 25, you're going to need 15 more classrooms empty to fill those classes for those kids. Mm-hmm. You talk to the teachers, they're overwhelmed. We're not exactly in the most popular, like everybody's wanting to be a teacher these days. Okay, let's just face it. We're underpaid, overworked. There's more kids coming. There's less teachers on staff. So there's going to be an imbalance of that to begin with. I've been here, like I said, since '93. I fought for this last year when we did the Live Local Act. Numbers have not gone down. Numbers have gone up. The number of children per classroom, the traffic is crazy. There is no room. We don't have the infrastructure for all of these townhomes. I can speak for the teachers. We really don't need to add more more classrooms or more students per classroom when we don't even have the teachers to facilitate it. I'm at 6909 Aqueduct Terrace, like I said, here in Van Dyke Farms, in the middle of the community. I've seen the growth. It's a rural community. I don't care what you say, what's around us. We are a rural community, and I oppose both of these proposals. And thanks for your time, and the other 2 times I accidentally cut in.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Raymond, I'm not even going to try the last name, Raymond G. Is Raymond G on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Please, go ahead.
Well, I think everybody else has covered it pretty well. It's just I'm opposed to the change because I think what it is right now would be fine. One house per acre would be compatible with the surrounding area and with the wildlife and everything else. And the traffic right now is just unbelievable. And I don't know if the people who proposed this thing or who approved it, if they've been here during rush hour. I mean, it's hard to get onto Van Dyke Road. It's just a miserably failed road. Part of it's because of Via Point, which is a similar development with townhomes. And that was just, I mean, nobody even heard about that. Suddenly it was approved and they took a cow pasture and turned it into a little city. And it's like, the road is just a mess. And it's like, they've got some plans to fix it, but who knows, that's probably not gonna be finished for 5 or 10 years, who knows? They really should put off any expansion plans to make this thing bigger and better until the road is fixed. Van Dyke Road has to be fixed and make it compatible with that kind of traffic, because that's probably 300 more cars coming in and out. And I just don't think it's appropriate. It's not compatible with this area. And it's certainly against the plan, the Keystone Plan, which is, it just destroys the Keystone Plan. And I think that's something we need to preserve, and we should, take a stand on this. I know just so many people are against this, and they're like, oh, why bother? Why bother saying what's on your mind? It's like they're just going to prove this anyway. It's just, I mean, Hillsborough County's done a great job of discouraging people to say their opinion, but I'm against it, and I think the reasons people give them the traffic, the schools, the schools. Have you ever seen them trying to get to a school in the morning? It's just, they're overcrowded already. So I don't know where these 155 families are going to go to school, but I'm against it, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we have Anand Mehta. Is Anand Mehta on the line?
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm a resident of Van Dyke Farms. I moved here from Carrollwood 3 years ago, mainly for a quieter life, because I used to live just off Fletcher Avenue and in a single family home. But I have a townhome on Fletcher Avenue. Townhomes with their density have a background noise signature that's much higher. This affects wildlife negatively, insects, the environment. So building 127, now I've heard 153 townhomes, there's going to be a big disruption. A small piece of land with a disruption like this has snowball effects to the environment. We've had neighbors, it's going to affect your birds, it's going to affect your owls, it's going to affect your birds of prey. This is a semi-rural area. So townhomes, even though the gentleman from representing Mr. Shannon said it's just a small area, if you look at the character of the area, not only Van Dyke Farms, because we are an HOA, but to the south, the folks to the south on Old Tobacco Road, they're on independent lots, large lots across the street. There's more land. Townhomes don't fit into the character on this side. You want to build a townhomes to the east of the Veterans Expressway, where you have a Via Point and Lakeshore Preserve and other estates, feel free, because you already have that infrastructure out there. You're going to widen that area anyway on the $138 million plan. The left side is part of the KCA side. It's not part of the urban service area. So let's keep it away from there. The other thing is that I want to thank the staff for that report. It was just really good to read, really thorough. Finally, the letter of support from the Van Dyke Farms HOA, that is solely the opinion of the HOA board, those few members. This board did not ask the residents for inputs. It doesn't reflect the opinions of the Van Dyke Farms residents. I understand why the HOA board gave the letter in support to Mr. Shannon, but this was never approved by us, never seen by us. So, I want the board to know about that. That's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we have Joanne Lathers. Joanne on the line?
Yes, hello. This is Joanne Lathers, and I live in Van Dyke Farms. I've been here since 2009, and I just want to reiterate what everyone else is saying, that we do not want to have 153 townhomes built in our area. The traffic on Van Dyke Road is already heavily traveled, and a lot of it is also with the Pinellas County residents that cut through on this road, which is fine. Steinbrenner High School will be over capacity. Martinez will be just under capacity, and all of our community resources will be stretched to way over capacity. Van Dyke Farms Board does not speak for the residents of Van Dyke Farms. So I adamantly oppose. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Kim Russell.
Kim Russell has not signed in.
Okay. We will take it to the people in person, and we will start with Melissa Norbeck again.
Melissa Nordbeck, Keystone Odessa. I'll be brief. As to school capacity, the school board does not have on their either 5-year plan or their 10-year plan school in this area. It just doesn't even exist. State law requires that if you are building a development and you do not have school capacity within 3 years of your approval, that it should be denied. You're not going to have school capacity within 3 years. There is no school plan for this area. And as the Ms. Potter said, we're getting more kids, not less. As far as the Van Dyke expansion, the proposed Van Dyke expansion, which is not even budgeted yet, that is not on this side of the expressway. It is on the other side of the expressway. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up, Regina Hernandez.
Thank you, Regina Hernandez, and I've lived at 8703 Lake Com Lane for 41 years. Everybody else was putting their years in. I thought I should too. And I was there before Van Dyke Farms was built. You know, there was 0 on Van Dyke. It's not in the Keystone Civic Association area to start with. I just want to say that I'm offended that the presentation that was put up there by Mr. Kramer compared R1 to a Walmart, when really, to me, the presentation should have been, you know, homes, so many homes versus so many condos. I thought that was a false presentation and offensive. In addition to that, the owner and Mr. Kramer are saying, y'all better take this or you get live local. Boy, if that's not a threat, I don't know what is. And they are leaving Hillsborough County, Florida. It's not because they can't afford the house, they can't afford the insurance. Homeowners, car, the whole 9 yards. It's pretty expensive here in Florida. Thank you very much for your time in the process.
Thank you. All right. I'll call these just in case. Christine Elliott, Vernon Elliott in person? No, no. All right. We will go back to Michael Beam.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I'd just refer the commissioners to my comments made in opposition to 2511. I'd reemphasize and reassert those in opposition to 2512. With respect to the traffic increase that would be expected, emergency services response times will be affected. Living so close to Van Dyke Road, every time I'm out on my lanai, I can hear emergency vehicles going up and down Van Dyke Road. We have the fire station just on the other side of the expressway. We have St. Joe's Hospital down near the intersection of Dale Mabry. And so emergency vehicles are using Van Dyke Road, which is the shortest, straightest route between Gunn Highway and Dale Mabry. And so there's a lot of traffic on there to begin with. But 4th of July was just nonstop sirens. I'm not sure what the emergency response time is on average for the Sheriff's Department or emergency services, but that's a statistic that's easily determinable. And I can tell you that it's going to go up with the increase in traffic. As one of my neighbors said, we almost need a traffic light just to get out of our development in the morning now. And with another 127 to 153 homes, I can't imagine how long it would take to get out of there safely. Again, I agree with staff that this is inconsistent with the plan and hope that the Planning Commission adopts that stance. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Catherine Beam? Pass again? Okay. All right. Just checking. All right. Elisa Kassan. Kassan. Hopefully I got it right that time.
It's Lisa Casson, and I'm just going to be short and sweet. It's the same comments that I made before, but I want to reiterate, it's not just me up here talking. There's a whole bunch of neighbor ladies, communicating right now and watching this on Zoom right now, and they're just not as comfortable to speak in front of everybody. But all of us are adamantly against it. We've all lived here a long time, and it's just not what anybody was expecting. It's not going to contribute to the well-being of all of the people, including if those 147 homes were approved, those townhomes were approved, those people would also suffer all of the things that we're talking about right now with the additional traffic, the school overcrowding, and that school overcrowding is super serious. I'm somebody who's come down here and spoke to this board before when my kids were in elementary school, and there were 2 new schools being proposed, and neither of them had the same advanced classes and the same courses that kids could take for pre-college courses that were in the existing schools. And so because of that, we argued successfully to have the school redistricting changed. And again, I would say and I don't want to bogart this microphone, but the reason there's reclaimed water there is because the residents of Van Dyke Farms went around and collected signatures. Otherwise, that reclaimed water was not going to be there. They had it proposed, but it wasn't approved unless they had a certain number of signatures. And I know for a fact that we had more than half of the 423 homes in Van Dyke Farms signed off on that reclaimed water proposal back when it was just a beginning issue. And I know that the Van Dyke Farms HOA board letter does not speak for, I would guess, but at least they don't speak for the 30 ladies in my bunco group that are all adamantly opposed to this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, Julio Moran. Just checking, going once, going twice. All right. We will take it over back to Angela Murphy.
Comments are the same as HCCPA 11, to please vote inconsistent. I am going to address something, though. We have lost some people in our neighborhood, and they moved to get more land because of what was being developed out there. It wasn't due to not being able to afford it. They did not like car insurance and house insurance, but some of them moved to Colorado, which is not cheaper at all. The townhomes, I would like to also say, that were mentioned are not in Keystone. Those are on the opposite side. So that's that. And I won't say anything about the Walmart comment because Regina already mentioned that. That wasn't very nice to portray it that way. Res 1 sounds great, and I would just like to say that the people on Tobacco Road, they have speed bumps. They like the quiet life. They don't want this to turn into like 54 has in our community. And if it was to come to a Live Local Act, we would fight that again as well. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Next up, Beth White.
Commissioners, Beth White, representing KCA. I want to point out one thing. We're not saying no to development. We don't sit around Keystone and chew tobacco and say, no, we don't ever want to see anything being built in our town. That's not what we do. We have a Keystone community plan to lower the density. We don't want the density. The apartments, that are brought up, that those apartments and what the growth were basically born the Lutz community plan and the Keystone community plan to lower density. So I'm back to oppose CPA 2512. I'd like to point out a portion of this site contains wetlands, and a portion of the site is in flood zone AE, which indicates a 100-year floodplain. The buildup needed for 153 townhomes with potential of commercial, along with a paved parking lot, would be catastrophic to the neighboring homes surrounding this property with an average thunderstorm. The county is still recovering from flooding from last year's hurricanes. The proposed change to Res 12 is incompatible with the surrounding area, does not meet the intent of objective 1.2.1, which speaks to the preservation of rural character of the Keystone Odessa community. The access point off of Van Dyke Road would create a dangerous condition for those exiting Van Dyke Farms, increase traffic on our already busy two-lane roads, and completely ignores the principles of Vision Zero. I live in Keystone. My office is on Van Dyke Road, where that roundabout's supposed to go in. I travel this road multiple times a day. The traffic increases. There's a CIP on file for Tobacco Road that's been sitting there for a couple years at $3.5 million to widen Tobacco Road to put in sidewalks and bike lanes, which are not wanted nor needed. Last year, that jumped to $6.6 million before it was pulled from a BOCC commission. Let that go. So, thank you. Please vote inconsistent.
Thank you. All right. I think that is all we had signed up for this item, so I will turn it back over to you, Mr. Kramer, for some responses. And I just want to say, I know you didn't threaten us. You made very clear that you were not making a threat to us. I heard some people kind of put you down there. I didn't think that was too great, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to make a few points. I mean, this application, folks, is why our friends and relatives can't afford to live in Hillsborough County. This application shows why that is. Nothing in the Keystone Plan says this level of density is not allowed. No one mentioned a policy, and it's not there. That's why they're not mentioning specific policies. Most of Keystone is rural, but this corner's not. There was a comment about schools that was incorrect. School concurrency now is a pay-and-go system. That change happened in the legislature a few years ago. So if there is not capacity when the developer, new community needs it, now an agreement gets worked out with the school board, and that money then gets put toward new schools. And I would just like to, Mr. Chair, to your point, I'd just like to encourage the residents to go look for themselves. All these files are online about what's approved on this site, what has been considered by the board, and I do think some residents are confused about what's actually allowed now, and so I would just suggest those, look through the county files and they educate themselves so they all at least have an understanding of what the facts are. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Over to our board members now for discussion. Comments, questions. Everybody is still. Ms. Ornita, shocking. All right.
Well, I just did feel it was important, based on what Mr. Kramer just said, to mention that the Keystone Community Plan does state that they should maintain low-density residential development of a minimum of 1 unit per 5 acres, consistent with the comprehensive plan, unless otherwise permitted, which is what the residential one is otherwise permitted. It was already there. And then it says discouraging plan amendments to densities higher than 1 unit per 5 acres. So I just wanted to provide what the community plan says specific to density in Keystone.
All right. Mr. Kramer?
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you'll indulge me for just a minute. I agree with Ms. Sornina. Again, I was careful in what I said. It does not say you can't ask for this. And there are parts of the I just didn't, I don't think that's what you meant. There are parts of the Keystone Plan that say that you have to recognize previously approved PDs that were there before the Keystone Plan. So, thank you.
All right. You two kids quit arguing over semantics. Are there any other questions, comments, discussion items from the commissioners? I'm going once, going twice. I'm going to close the public comment on this one and open it up to motions from the commissioners. Anybody? Is there a motion out there? Commissioner Buzza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that we find HCCPA 25-12 inconsistent with Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan for on the County Commission.
All right. We have a motion of inconsistency by Commissioner Buzza.
I'll second.
All right. Second by Commissioner Linkus. All right. A motion of inconsistency finding by Commissioner Buzza. Second to that by Commissioner Linkus. Are there any questions, discussions, comments? Not seeing any, then I'll turn it over to the clerk for another roll call.
Buzza,
Yes?
Kona, Kress,
Yes.
Kugler, Linkus,
Yes.
Sieben, Joseph.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1. Commissioner Sieben voted no.
All right. Next up, we have item 2D. Actually, before we go to the next item, we're going to take, HTV, could we take like a 5-minute intermission here, and we'll come back at 7:25? We're going to have people swap out rooms, empty the room, and then new people come in. So take a 5-minute break here. Come back at 7:25. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. After that short intermission, we are picking up with item 2D of our action items, HCCPA 25-13, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, Dale Mabry Highway and Holly Lane Urban Service Area Expansion, and the presenter is Lily L. I'm not going to try the last name.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. Lillian Lenahan with Planning Commission staff here to present HCCPA 2513, located at Dale Mabry Highway and Holly Lane for the Urban Service Area Expansion. This is a privately initiated map amendment that is small in scale and approximately 24.36 acres. The applicant is requesting to expand the urban service area, and this amendment is associated with HCCPA 2514, which is a request to change the future land use category from residential 1 to residential 9. This is the general location map. As I mentioned in the last slide, this is associated with HCCPA 2514. It is in the rural area and within the limits of the Lutz Community Plan and is located east of Dale Mabry Highway, south of Holly Lane, and north of Lutz Lake Fern Road. Here is an aerial of the site. The site is outlined in pink, and the blue line indicates the existing urban service area boundary. Now for some site photos. This is looking west towards the subject site from Holly Lane. This is looking south down Holly Lane, and the subject site is on the right side of the road. And this is looking south down Dale Mabry Highway with the subject site to the left of the roadway. The proposed amendment would bring approximately 24.36 acres into the urban service area, requiring at a minimum connection to public water and sewer. This proposed amendment received no formal objections. However, it did receive comments from the following agencies, which are important to note. Fire Rescue stated that the proposed increased population density for the area would also lead to increased call volumes and responses, and the fire stations would need additional units to existing stations and or additional fire stations to support the existing stations. The Office of Emergency Management stated the proposed amendment does not align with the objectives outlined in the Hillsborough County Local Mitigation Strategy Plan, specifically Section 2, the Improved Built Environment, and Section 3, Improved Natural Environment. Community and Infrastructure Planning stated that the potential trip generation plus the existing traffic will force Dale Mabry Highway over its service level by approximately 519 trips. And the Public Utilities Administration stated there is no public potable water service or wastewater service within a 4th mile of the subject site. And if the development is allowed to connect to these services, a water transmission main and wastewater transmission main will have to be constructed to connect the subject area to the county's existing infrastructure where capacity is available. And significant offsite improvements will be required to provide adequate service to the future developments within the proposed expansion area. The proposed amendment is inconsistent with the following objectives and policies of the comprehensive plan. The proposal does not meet the intent of FLU's Objective 4.4 and its associated policies that require new development to be compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. In this case, the surrounding land use patterns comprise of mostly large lot, rural residential development, with the surrounding lot sizes averaging 1.5 acres in size. Therefore, the proposed request would not complement the existing community character and development pattern. According to FLU's Policy 3.1.2, gradual transitions of intensities and densities between different land uses shall be provided for as new development is proposed through the use of professional site planning, buffering, and screening techniques through the control of specific land uses. The Residential 1 future land use designation surrounds the site, and there are low-density residential developments on all sides. The transition to Residential 9 on the subject site with an urban service area expansion would allow for density intensity that is much greater than the existing area and therefore is inconsistent with this policy. The Lutz Community Plan desires to maintain Lutz as a low-density, semi-rural, single-family community, offering a variety of housing styles, lot sizes, configurations, setbacks, while ensuring quality of life and sustainability. The Lutz Rural Area Development Standards have been created, and these will implement the Lutz Community Plan goal of retaining the semi-rural residential character of Lutz. The proposed urban service expansion would allow for development that is not consistent with the Lutz Community Plan and the livable community elements of the unincorporated Hillsborough County or Comprehensive Plan. Planning Commission staff recommends that the proposed map amendment be found inconsistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. This concludes my presentation. I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Does the applicant have a presentation?
Good evening, Cammie Corbett with the law firm of Hill, Ward, and Henderson this evening. We do have a planning presentation that will talk about this specific site, but I wanted to give especially the newer commissioners a context of how and why we're here today asking for expansions of the urban service boundary. Hillsborough County, when it first adopted its comprehensive plan, established an urban service boundary. It was somewhat arbitrary. There was input from the state, but there were no boots on the ground. Should this parcel be in the urban area? The that you are the prior and and therefore we shouldn't expand the service boundary. So much so that it got to 2024, 2023, 2024 that Hillsborough County adopted a comprehensive plan for and to plan for growth. And what the plan said, if you don't expand the urban service boundary, you should plan for any infrastructure in the rural area. And so of county commissioners recognized that the expansion would occur, and they designated specific large areas for publicly initiated amendment. Keystone Lutes are not in those, nor should they be. Only very isolated parcels are even particularly eligible for consideration in those areas, so they would not have that designation. And so I would submit to you that all of the arguments that are being made today were made against the expansion that had been approved. The Wyoming community did not want their community plan affected by the expansion, yet we found policy reasons to ask to keep an open here planner presentation on his professional opinion as to why this particular individual property within the Lutz community plan should be considered.
Good evening. Hi, this is Stephen Smith. I'm a certified planner with Consulting here in Tampa. Thank you for the introduction. I'm going to, given the very introduction by staff, skip through similar graphics and go to he request is chewing and digesting the location of this site in light of the comprehensive plan, including the Lutz plan. It doesn't abut the urban service area. It's nearby. It is more proximate to the water and sewer service area for Hillsborough County, and that's in green, and that's the shopping center there that includes Publix. And in the context of this request, I think it's important to see where utilities have actually been extended and not just where the urban service area is. Okay, the plan includes criteria for determining whether expansion should be granted. The first one has to do with whether it's contiguous or not contiguous, and if it's not contiguous, there needs to be unique circumstances. And I think clearly in this case there are unique circumstances. One, it has frontage on North Del Maybury. It's an arterial with over 42,000 trips per day. It's at an intersection. Holly Lane's a local road. It's nearby an intersection, the Lutz Lake Fern Road, which is signal line. It's a collector. And then nearby there are, and there's some photographs there, but nearby are a mix of uses, including the shopping center anchored by the Publix. There's an existing sidewalk along the frontage that connects to the shopping center. There's push-button activated pedestrian control structures there, again facilitating that movement. There are two sizable churches nearby, one directly across the site from to the north. And again, these types of things are indicators that this is not a rural area. We understand we do have a sensitive edge along our eastern boundary. We're aware of that, and I think there are some good photographs there, and I include a photograph as well. But the plan also says that and planning and design really are better avenues to look at the edges and compatibility. And so typically at the zoning stage, we'll get into depth about buffers, setbacks, those kind of things. And so again, we do feel that it is uniquely situated. I'll continue on this first point a little bit, that the ownership in the area and then also the environment supports this request. The FDOT ownership is outlined in blue. It includes the right-of-way as well as other parcels controlled by the FDOT. There are virtually no privately held undeveloped properties between the shopping center and Pasco County. You can sort of see that based on where our site is. Again, as you go up, the right-of-way of Dale Mabry. There's also excessive floodplain in the vicinity, and that is mapped. That's the source for that is the Southwest Florida Water Management District, and that greenish yellow color is the mapped floodplain underneath that, and also it kind of sticks out in some places is the FEMA floodplain, and what you don't see is our site. It is not covered by those designations. The only part that is along our very southern boundary of the site, and that's where we overlap the lake. And continuing again, I think this is an important point in terms of its consistency with the plan, and also in light of the Lutz plan. What is proposed here does not create a precedent, and again goes back to the ownership that the site, the area around it is substantially built out. You see larger lot subdivisions as well as more suburban style subdivisions further south off of Holly Lane. And again, the lake also defines our southern boundary. The second criteria looks at developable land and addressing population projections and employment projections. I think we're in consensus here that clearly there is demand for population is increasing, not just across the region, but in this community as well. And there is demand for additional housing, and 95% of our site is developable. Go to the next one here. This is the third. Says that asks whether the proposed proposal fits within the existing development pattern. And I did find in the affirmative, again, kind of repeating some of the same things, that it does front on North Dale Mabry. It's even subject to the North Dale Mabry Overlay District, which has development requirements that are again enforced through the LDC. The shopping center nearby. There's also the graphic on the top shows some of the zoning approvals that have been granted, again, within the vicinity. It's not uniformly, a single land use or zoning classification. And again, consistent with plan guidance, compatibility is best addressed through effective site planning techniques that are better looked at during the zoning stage. The fourth assures that development pays the fair share for infrastructure needed. This graphic takes county information, it overlays on an aerial, but again, it emphasizes the point that there are existing utilities just to the south of us. The red is sewer, and I think more significantly is a 12-inch water line that not only extends across the frontage of that commercial parcel, but it continues to the park and then continues as well to 41. And our applicant understands as well the requirement to extend lines. There's also a significant benefit to extending public water and sewer in light of the other option being well and septic tanks. So we're in a well protection area, and we're also adjacent to Brooker Lake, and public water and sewer is the better choice there. The staff report, and there's detail I'm going to go into regarding other infrastructure type things, traffic typically addressed during the amendment for the land use and rezoning. There's information regarding schools. There's also a statement by fire and rescue, and then again parks nearby, and we'll also be providing parks on site. The fifth is that there won't be any adverse impacts to the environment. Again, this parcel stands out in that, and this is information from, again, the South Florida Water Management District. The top is a land use cover, not future land use, but land use cover. It shows this was historically a tree plantation. The graphic on the bottom shows that this site is upland. 6, again, looks at data and the need based on projected population, just looking at, and this board knows probably more than any, and have heard presentations regarding population projections and demand for both our growth forecasts for our community. Again, by providing for this amendment, we allow for a greater number of units, and also for a more diverse, potential more diverse housing. And the final one is 7, does not compromise efficient use of land or a rural area. Again, I think we've demonstrated that this area is not rural, that there are a diversity of land uses nearby, and there's also infrastructure nearby. In terms of the planned, and we'll more substantially look at the Lutz plan with the land use change. Sorry, but the main point of this graphic is to show the extent of the urban service area within the planning area, and also the extent of water and sewer service areas within the community. Again, those are the green and the blue, and so to conclude and to summarize my professional opinion, the request is consistent with the plan. I think we've demonstrated going through policy 1.19 specifically. It's uniquely situated, both the location and the natural features, both nearby and on the property. The character of the community has been established and mostly built out. That is from the plan itself. We understand that the applicant bears the burden of extending water and sewer, which would have significant environmental benefit. And there also has been a clear pattern of extending water and sewer within Lutz. So based on that, I'll conclude, and thank you.
Cami Corbett, for the record, I don't have anything additional to add at this time.
Thank you. All right. Now over to public comment on this one, and I'm going to start virtually with Barbara Adderhold.
Barbara has left the chat.
All righty, we're moving on to Thomas Schumacher.
Thomas has not checked in.
Heidi Taylor.
She has not checked in.
What about Minoy Van Lingen?
Minoy, can you hear us? Minoy, we're not hearing your audio. There should be a little caret next to the mute button that has your audio options, and you should be able to choose your microphone from there.
No.
All
right, you keep working with him. I'm gonna go to the people in the room because that was our last virtual person. So see if you can get him going there, and I'll jump to the people in the room for now.
Thank you.
And we will start with Ted Brown.
I don't know how that happened. I didn't get the red shirt memo, and now I'm first, so that really puts me in the hot seat. I've lived in Lutz for 50 years. I remember when Van Dyke Road was had horse trails on the side of it, because I used to ride horses out there. First, I want to start off by thanking the staff. They did a very comprehensive and thorough review of this application request. And I found that their conclusive finding by the staff is that the urban service area expansion request is inconsistent with Hillsborough County's comprehensive plan, the future land use objectives, and is in direct conflict with the Lutz community plan. Now, in listening to some of the previous meetings, I know some of you are from the Lutz area or have been in the Lutz area, but if you're not familiar with the Lutz area, it's 200. The majority of that is R1, some R2 zoning out there with a average lot size of around 1 acre. There is some R2, as the applicant mentioned, west of Dale Mambry, which is a 4-lane divided highway. But I want to reaffirm that west of Dale Mabry is not Lutz. That's west of Dale Mabry. You see a very good turnout of people here with red shirts, not me. And we're all here because we like living in Lutz. And there's a couple of reasons for that. We like the quality of life and the rural lifestyle it provides. We've moved there and chosen to live there because of the lifestyle that exists in Lutz. We don't want to live in southern Pasco County. We've seen what's happened with the type of development that's occurred on Highway 54. And I used to go out, take the shotgun out on 54 and go dove hunting. Can't do that anymore. The Lutz Community Plan has been developed to preserve and protect the lifestyle we live for in Lutz. And this request is in direct conflict with that plan. This project does not meet most of the criteria of the expansion of the urban service area. Specifically, the project site is not adjacent or contiguous to the urban service area and would constitute a leapfrog event. The applicant likes to show that this is close, this is similar, but in fact, it's most of his references are quite far away. They also talk about growth in the area. They talk about the need to expand the urban service area, and the urban service area staff commented that it was expanded by 12,000 acres recently to accommodate future growth in Hillsborough County, and that the expansion in Lutz is not supported.
That's your time.
By this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, Randall Rosser. Rosser? My apologies. Roser.
Good evening. My name is Randall Roser, a lifelong resident of Lutz. I reside at 909 Hillary Circle, and I'm also representing my family's farm at 19429 Holly Lane, directly across from this property. I am here in opposition of map amendments 2513 and 2514. Tonight, I'd like to address the character of the surrounding area of the proposed project and share my concerns regarding what I believe is a deliberately false depiction of our community by the applicant. My family has owned and operated the working agricultural land directly east of the proposed site since the 1950s. This property served as a prominent dairy farm for 2 decades, transitioned to beef cattle production, and is now home to an equine breeding and boarding facility, Angus Cross cattle production, and large backyard poultry farm. Our agricultural operations have already been negatively impacted by the growth of Hillsborough County. The widening of Dale Mabry Highway forced the sale of 41.8 acres of our agricultural land for mitigation. This resulted in a significant downsizing of our agricultural capacity and revenue. For those unfamiliar with Holly Lane, you can see it on the screen. It's a winding, scenic, narrow country lane with homes on 1-acre lots, shaded by canopy of oak trees and cypress trees. The lane at 17 feet requires us to pull off to the side when the school bus or when the garbage truck passes by. We take great care when navigating the existing traffic calming speed humps, as 2 vehicles must be careful when passing each other. While the applicant claims that there is nearby suburban development, commercial shopping centers, townhome communities, and multifamily developments, the fact is this is not in Hillsborough County. This is in Pasco County, and we should not use the rapid and frankly irresponsible growth of Pasco County as a model for our own community. The applicant likes to reference the proximity to Paradise Lakes, which is condominiums located within a nudist colony. I want to be clear, we do not want or need a nudist colony, condominiums, or townhomes overlooking a children's swim school. In conclusion, I urge you to consider these facts and the true nature of our community before making a decision on this proposal. Let us not be guided by the misleading comparisons or developments in other counties, but instead by the true nature, needs, and vision of those of us who call this area home.
All right, thank you, sir. Next up, we have, can we hold the applause till the end, or else we might be here a lot longer than you guys want to? All right, please. All right, next up, we have Christine Elliott. I will try Christine Elliott. I will try Vernon Elliott. No, going once, going twice, all right. That's the last one.
I believe we've moved all the speakers into this room.
Right.
Thank you.
All right.
Hello, can folks hear me? This is Manoy, and I'm very sorry, but I didn't hear that last bit.
Okay, go ahead, Manoy. We'll stop into you then.
I apologize, but thank you for your patience, for wanting to hear me out. I just wanted to dissent on both 13 and 14 on the growth at Holly Lane. My address is 19264 Blount Road. I do not, in general, dissent to expansion. I know that's necessary. I know we need to grow, but I do object to the degree of expansion which is proposed for townhouses. Are you still hearing me just before I continue to ramble
Yes,
on?
yes, we have you.
Okay. First of all, my first objection is traffic. I live on Blount Road, as I mentioned. It's really difficult at multiple times of the day to get off of Blount onto Lutz Lake Fern, let alone to get onto Dale Mabry. That's one point. There has been a traffic signal which has been put in the place on the road, written, not a sign, not a signal, but written, and people ignore it repeatedly. But never mind that. More importantly, what I would like to know more about is the impact or potential impact of flooding and sinkholes in that area, the negative impacts specifically. Yes, the expansion would be on Lake Harvey, but right next to that is Lake Virginia, which, as you all know, as members of the commission, is also connected to Lake Huron. Those three lakes are all interdependent. And so I want to know what the impact would be on my home in terms of insurance and the homes of all the folks that live on Lake Allen, Lutz Lake Fern, Blount Road, in terms of the potential impact, because there will be a negative impact. That's, to me, unquestionable. I happen to be a volunteer for an organization that works under FEMA, and so I'm very well aware of the impacts of expanded growth in areas like Louisiana, which has similar ecological issues that Florida does, vis-a-vis high water table. Again, I don't know how much time I have, but those are my concerns, and I'd like to see, as a resident, I would like to see a lot more information about that. And that is the reason for my extreme dissent, because I really haven't seen anything in a public forum. Thank you very much. That's my time.
Thank you. All right, that was the last person we had sign up on virtually, so we will go to, all right, we will go to Julio Moran. I'll check for Julio Moran. Yep. Christy Mackey, you're next.
How you doing, everyone? My name's Julio Moran. I live at 920 Lake Brooker Court, which is almost at the corner of Holly Lane and Lake Brooker. I've lived there approximately 18 years now, and I moved from the city of Tampa. I'm a retired Tampa Fire Rescue Captain. Over the last 2 to 3 years, I've noticed just Holly Lane. Mr. Roser did a great job of putting that video together for everybody. If you measure it across from where you turn off of Lutz Lake Fern all the way to where you get to Del Mabry, it's approximately 16.5 to 17 feet wide. If you're driving a full-size truck or a full-size SUV like an Expedition, you must yield each other. You're not going to pass. And I think you were saying earlier when I heard you with the other one, you grew up in that Gaither area, so you're probably super familiar with the area. I'm not too sure if the rest of the commissioners are aware of it. I'm asking the board to vote this down. From a first responder standpoint, the traffic this morning, I tried to get out at 9 o'clock. It took me over 5 minutes to pull out onto Lutz Lake Fern to head east. The traffic is absolutely incredible. It's one lane from Del Mabry all the way to 41. The Holly Lane with the buses and the kids that are getting picked up from elementary school through high school, that's what's happening is the traffic is backing up that are trying to cross Del Mabry on Lutz Lake Fern, heading west. It's backed up all the way to Tracy Court, almost to the ballpark, if you look at that on the map. They're cutting through Holly Lane, and they're going so fast. You can tell when it's not somebody that's in the neighborhood because they're going over the 2 or 3 speed humps that we have, and the cars are bottoming out. So that traffic that we have while people are trying to walk the dogs, walk the kids, exercise, run, there's no sidewalks, there's no drainage. I'm just not familiar with how many of you guys are familiar with the actual area. That pine tree field that they speak of floods. Like I said, I've been there 18 years. I've had to leave the house to go on duty, and sometimes we've been without power. Most of us have the generator backups now. We've been without power, even though Tico's doing a great job. And the pre-prep that we have, sometimes between 5 to 9 days without power. So adding these townhomes is definitely gonna put a big, large impact on what's going on. So I'm asking if if the board will vote this down, just because I don't think it's going to work. It's not going to be safe as far as the impact it's going to put on Lutz Elementary, McKittrick, Martinez, Steinbrenner. I think it's already, those schools are at almost max capacity, are very close to it, being realistic. And I just think right now from the fire rescue standpoint, I've watched Engine 24 and Rescue 24. I've watched them guys have to shut down the lights or just, you can't lay on the air horns. There's no place for the traffic to pull over between the Methodist Church and Del Mabry. The lake is right there. There's no easement as you're heading west. Anyway, I think that I've covered everything. I'm just asking
That's your
the
time,
board.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, Christy Mackey.
Hi, Christy Mackey. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'm 6 generations. I live on 19258 Blunt Road. My grandparents, the Troutmans, my parents, the Buckinghams, myself, my daughter, and her children. So I'm very passionate. I coached softball for 12 years at Oscar Cooler Field. 10 years ago, any kid could go play football, baseball, soccer, cheerleading. Today, there's a 50 to 60 kid wait list. So some kids that want to play sports can't anymore because we're at maximum capacity. Our schools, we have several people have mentioned, Steinbrenner's at maximum, Martinez is close, Lutz Elementary. I live in a neighborhood with Lake Harvey, Lake Virginia, and Lake Allen. We already have a lot of flooding. When it rains a lot in rainy season, Lake Allen's underwater. My daughter's house on Blunt Road is underwater, as well as the empty property I have. We had a house at the end of my street last year burned to the ground because it took over 30 minutes for the fire department to get there. They're stretched thin now. So if you add 200 more homes, it's just gonna really damage the area. I've also seen eagles, we've got bobcats, we've got deer. It's zoned for single family homes like the rest of us. And that's what I'm in favor of. So I strongly oppose both 2513 and 14. I do not think that's good for our area for multiple reasons. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Michelle Parks and Daniel C. after Michelle Parks.
Hi, nice to see you. Thank you very much. My name's Michelle Parks. I have a bachelor's degree in communications from USF and a master's in international relations. I'm a 23-year resident of Lutz who lives within 5 minutes of the property in question for proposed map amendment 2513. I'm also a board member of the Lutz Civic Association, and it's in that capacity that I'm speaking tonight. Citizens from Lutz have worked with many county staffers, perhaps some of your staff, since the 1990s to help develop and update the county comprehensive plan and the Lutz community plan. Expanding the urban service area into the rural community of Lutz along Dale Mabry and Holly Lane via Map Amendment 2513 is incompatible with every current development planning document as well as planned updates through 2045. Here are several of the planning policies this application violates. First, Goal 1 and Policy 111 of the Comprehensive Plan is violated because it expands the urban service area into an area unsupported by existing or any planned public facilities and services. Ways that 2513 violates policies 114, 115, and 116 within Goal 1 include it violates existing county and community plans. The timing of the project would exacerbate existing infrastructure issues. There is no compatible existing development, and it would adversely affect the surrounding area. It violates, again, the community plan. There is no mention of urban service funding in the county's capital improvement plans because this property is intended to remain outside the urban service boundary. Amendment 2513 also violates all 7 parts of Policy 119. It's not adjacent and contiguous to the established urban service area, as you can see on the map, and it creates an island which is not allowed. For context, the application lists notable mentions proximate to the project site, ranging from Target to, as others have mentioned, Paradise Lakes condominiums some miles away, all of which, again, are in Pasco County. We're not interested in becoming southern Pasco County. Projected population and employment data do not support the project. The application is incorrect and inaccurate and incomplete. The proposed boundary is not an extension of an existing development pattern. If you review the adopted Lutz Community Plan, which we know you and your staff have, there is a requirement that the adopted community plan be reviewed and address conflicts. There has been no such review. In fact, the applicant contacted a few local residents on July 11th, and the meeting that they offer us is planned after this hearing. The amendment does not properly analyze availability, capacity, and fiscal impacts on infrastructure and services. The boundary change would adversely affect environmental or natural resources, and it compromises the preservation of rural areas. Goal 1, Rural Objective 1.2.
That's your time, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Next up, Daniel C. And after Daniel is Ina Young, and then Omitza Lopez.
Good afternoon or good evening. My name is Daniel Karen. I live at 901 Lake Brooker Court in Lutz, Florida, with my wife Valerie and our 2 school-aged children. As you can tell here, there's a lot of narrative going to be going on. I'll save mine. Ultimately, we all love living in Lutz. We all live there for a reason. I grew up in Crystal River. My wife in rural Oklahoma. This is the best we can do around here and not live in Pasco County. It's kind of probably be the running theme. I am here in objection to both proposed amendments, the development and the urban expansion. This is not inconsistent with our Lutz Community Plan. It was established and voted by this commission and enacted. There is nothing that the applicant has provided that would provide any benefits to our community by expanding that zone. And in fact, this is an island. They said it is. There are other urban areas nearby. There is nothing nearby. There is a DOT property that is vacant. There is a small swim school. There is a church. There's more DOT property, and there's a small nursery. And then there's Pasco County. So there is nothing in our exact neighborhood and area that is similar to what they have. My immediate concerns are the safety and well-being of our community and our children. I have 2 school-age children. As you can see by the video, Holly Lane is a small rural country road, no lights, no sidewalks, no shoulder. But they do have school bus stops. One at different locations depending on which school bus is picking them up. Kids walk down that country road. My son walks down that country road to get picked up and dropped off by the bus. Somewhere in the report, it said that this amendment would increase traffic from 271 trips per day to 1,618 trips per day on a street where my kid, in the wintertime, walks down the street in the dark to pick up the bus in the morning. 1,600 trips, another 1,300 trips on an area that's already over congested. As someone else previously said, I coach baseball up at the Lutz Park. We love the park. We ride our bikes to the park. My kids go there to watch their friends, to play themselves. Our park is at capacity. They're changing football fields into overflow parking. My kid's on a wait list to play football because there are just too many kids. This is inconsistent with our community plan, and it does not benefit us in any way. So I hope you all vote and see that this is not practical and not prudent. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, Ina Young.
Hello, my name is Ina Young. I'm at 19211 Crooked Lane, which is approximately half a mile away from the property at issue. We moved to this neighborhood approximately 6 years ago because this neighborhood is a rural community with quiet streets where my 3 children can walk down the street, can ride the bike, and where my husband, who is an avid runner, who runs every day down Crooked Lane, right at Crooked Lane to Holly Lane, right past the property at issue every single day. So I believe that adding a townhome is entirely inconsistent with our community plan, with the Lutz community plan. And in addition to that, I believe that adding townhomes with 150 units, adding at least 300 cars plus deliveries for each of them, will pose a safety risk to my children, my 4-year-old, who I take on my walks almost every evening to walk my dog. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Omitza Lopez, and after that is Robert Nelson.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Omitza Lopez. My family and I reside at 19516 Holly Lane on an almost 3-acre lot where we have an assortment of animals and plants. We're in the least populated area of the Holly Lane across from Dale Mabry Highway. This proposed project places an entire row of townhome balconies directly looking into my backyard, the place where my children and their friends enjoy campouts and their pool time. I have lived in Lutz for the last 11 years, and one of the primary reasons we came here was to raise our family in a smaller community. I adamantly oppose this plan to bring such a large number of dwellings to this area. My reasons to oppose this plan for development are not just the disruption to the peace and quiet that we have enjoyed for years, but also the increased traffic on an already overcrowded area. It takes me 25 to 30 minutes each day to travel north on North Dale Mabry from Jurassic Road to my street after 4:30. This is 1.5 miles, 1.5 miles of distance, and it's 25 to 30 minutes right now as it is. And I can tell you of traffic because I drive to the Bay Pines VA Medical Center in St. Pete every day. The pressure that this amount of dwellings would put in, I don't even want to think about it. I can tell you that I have children that attend the designated schools in our area, and our schools are well over capacity, bringing in 200 new families moving in, and the vehicles that they will bring along with them will only make matters worse. There are no plans to build new schools in the area for the next 10 years. The current infrastructure does not support this large amount of newcomers. I can tell you, my kids attend Steinbrenner High School and Martinez Middle. They are overcrowded. In regards to the traffic, Holly Lane is a very small street, and Dale Mabry Highway is a small 2-lane road on each way in front of this proposed area. Keep in mind that there are already new developments in the Pasco area that are only making matters worse as it is. Since we have new construction going across county line, it's right next to the Target. It's less than a mile from my house. It's only gonna get worse. And this is without counting on this project. I can tell you that I don't even want to think of the response time for the emergency services that if they're ever needed during traffic hours. And I can tell you from a first responder's opinion, it is not gonna be an easy problem, and there could be complications, severe complications. Increase in common population is not the only issue at play. The environmental impact and the disruption to the natural water flow, as we saw with these last storms, will only get worse. Was that my time? No. Oh,
Still have
sorry.
time.
It took 3 weeks for flooding from the last storm to recede to normal levels in my property. I have wetlands to the back of the property, and I can tell you firsthand, it would only get worse. This project is going to increase water to all adjacent properties and bring along the displacement of animals in the area. We've already had bobcats coming into our property and decimating our free roaming poultry. We're not designed to accommodate this large amount of residential dwellings at all. I don't oppose development, but I oppose this
That was your
preposterous plan.
time. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Robert Nelson, and then Elizabeth Neville after him.
Hello, I'm Robert Nelson. I live at 19113 Crooked Lane in Lutz, Florida. Lived there since 1978. I've seen the growth around the area. I've seen orange groves disappear to put in the Lutz Ballpark and Oscar Kohler Park. Obviously, we've seen a lot of growth in the area. One thing about the infrastructure around the area, yes, they've cited the expansion of the urban services area. That does go down Lutz Lakefront Road from the Publix. They cite Publix as a commercial site. It's really a community public store. It's not one of the large public stores that's in that complex. The urban service area does not expand north of Lutz Lakefront Road. There was no intent to have that happen at that point. Talking about Holly Lane. Holly Lane, as they've said, is a very, very narrow road that dumps out to Lutz Lakefront Road. For residents that live in the subdivisions off of Holly Lane, I have put in a private fence and a gate for people to access the Lutz Ballpark from our property down our private road, simply because there are no sidewalks supporting true access to the Lutz Ballparks at this point, from Holly Lane all the way through. If you follow the sidewalks along Lutz Lakefront Road, all of the children that come through that direction have to cross Lutz Lakefront Road in order to access the ballparks. So in regards to the two amendments that are on the schedule here today, I oppose both of those. I do not oppose the RS1 residential development on this property, but I do oppose anything greater than that. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Neville. And after her will be Ted Brown.
Good evening, Commissioners. Elizabeth Neville, 18811 4th Street Southeast, Lutz, Florida. I'm not directly associated where this location is, but my father's family moved to Lutz in 1902 and my family in 1952. I have seen the growth. I want to address just a moment what you were told by the developer's representative, that the plans that the county has put in place were somewhat arbitrary in considering growth. Let me tell you, the Lutz community plan was not arbitrary when it addressed growth. It was last revised in 2009. If it was revised today, I think you hear what the overall fabric of our community is saying this evening. And this is only one small area of Lutz. We heard also from the developer that the urban service area is nearby, not contiguous, not mild, at least. That's creep and crawl, folks. And our plan, the Lutz Community Plan, absolutely addresses that we did not want to see creep and crawl. Again, if it was readdressed, revised today, you would hear the same fabric thread that it did in 2009 and what you see in the sea of red today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up, Ted Brown.
Sorry, I was signing up for the modification to the future land use plan. Can I address that now, or is that another
Oh, did I call you already? Yes, sir. All right, okay, hang out. You guys have signed up on like 12,000 sheets. Everything's mixed up here, so yeah. Tara Edwards.
I know it's late, so I'm going to try to be brief. This was written for both amendments. My name is Tara Edwards. I'm a fifth-generation Tampa native, and my DNA is linked to the early settlers of Florida. I grew up here in Temple Terrace, and I moved to Lutz in 2000 with my husband, and we moved off of Holly Lane on Holly Shore Drive. We live at 920 Holly Shore Drive. We are the first house off of Holly Lane, and that is the only way we can get back and forth to our home. We moved here because we wanted to raise our girls in a semi-rural setting like we both grew up in. We are opposed to MAP Amendments 25-13 and 14. Last fall after the storms, I walked Holly Lane. It took weeks, as someone has already stated, for the water in our deep ditches, we have ditches for drainage, to drain. I mean, weeks. It was like rushing water out of the land, and you're going to see some pictures in a minute, for weeks. You'll hear from some of our neighbors a little bit more about flooding. The proposed development of upward 200 multifamily units on Holly Lane, despite being situated on the east side of Dale Mabry Highway, raises significant and urgent concerns for the Lake Allen, Virginia, and Harvey watershed, as you've heard. This watershed primarily lies to the west of Dale Mabry, but 50% of the proposed property also lies in this sensitive area and serves as a catchment for stormwater that ultimately finds its way to Rocky Creek, Tampa Bay, and the Gulf. Flooding in this watershed in Holly Lane is not an isolated or rare incident. I'm going to show you a couple of the slides. This is Holly Lane after the hurricanes. You can't really see the road. This is people's property on Holly Lane. This is Hillary Circle. We have several people here. They were underwater. This is a yard right near the pine field that they said does not flood. This is the farm that we talked about earlier. Even though there is land behind it that was taken to mitigate stormwater, it didn't do much help. And you can see on this picture, obviously, where another view from the farm versus where the pine field is on the green section at the top. Flooding in Holly Lane is going to only get worse if we add more impervious areas to the watershed. Adding this many homes, which could be more than 200, we understand what that means, and we don't know exactly how that housing is going to be developed. It could be more than 200 homes. There won't be enough additional space for that water to go anywhere. It is adjacent to Lake Brooker that we all live near.
Still have 30 seconds.
All right, sorry. Allowing the development would create substantially more impervious areas where where water cannot go. It eventually has to make its way back to Lake Brooker or the other lakes, and they can't take it. They are going to get contaminated from all of the runoff. And if you decide to pass this, I would urge you to tell us how you're going to improve our neighborhood to mitigate all of these problems. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Keith Edwards? And after Keith will be David Love.
Good evening. Again, my name is Keith Edwards. Currently work for Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Been there 23 years. I'm not here representing the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. I'm here I'm a resident of the Lutz area. My wife just came up and gave our actual address, which I probably wouldn't have done just based on what I do, but it's already out there, 920 Holly Shore, so what's done is done. We enjoy this area. We raise our kids there. We walk. It's wildlife. I think I have an owl that talks to me in the morning. It's awesome. Outside of that, based on what I do for a living, I know highly dense areas, like urban areas that are really dense, which would be like Suitcase City. And I work Suitcase City, which is like the USF area between Fowler and Bears and Nebraska and Bruceby Downs. That area is a very dense area. I know the issues that evolve around that type of issue is those people are not permanent. They go there and they move. That's why they call it Suitcase City. Very difficult for us to actually solve crime there because we go there, the people have moved, people that are there, they don't know their neighbors. They don't know who's above them, next to them, nowhere to be found, and those people don't really want to report crime. So that is completely against our philosophy, which is see something, say something. Our community is very safe. We have people that are on board with watching different cars. This is going to create such a havoc in that area with the building of this type of townhome. I did have some stats with the Lutz area. Our crime rate, 11 per 1,000 residents in a typical year. Suitcase City, which I just used the area code, which 33613 is the north end, 33612 is the south end. North end has 20 per 1,000, and the south end has 29. So double and triple these areas compared to what we have, which is a safe area. In summary, Lutz is not just a small city north of Tampa, it's our home. It's a proven model of safe rural living, not to jeopardize that by introducing a high-density urban project that runs counter to what this community was built on. I respectfully urge you to keep our Lutz community rural and vote no on the USA. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, David Love.
Good evening, Commissioners. David Love. I live at 919 Holly Shore Drive, Lutz, Florida. My wife and I moved after 20 years in West Chase. We wanted something rural. I bought a unique property. The back of my home backs up to Lake Brooker. We walk across Holly Lane right to the lake. We have views of birds, owls, deer. Any high-density housing that would be next to this would certainly affect this habitat. We also have had issues. We have a common area parcel A. We've had issues with people illegal dumping. As a result, they put in a very sophisticated surveillance system, including 2 license plate recognition cameras. I'm billed by the counts. Typically, we're running 18,900, I think we have. It's to 27 days into the billing cycle. So we're basically roughly averaging 330 cars per day go down Holly Lane. If you were to put high-density housing there, that number would more than quadruple. The road's 17.5 feet wide with 2 drainage culverts on either side. We ask that you kindly vote down both of these amendments and stick with the Lutz plan, keeping it semi-rural. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. All right. Next up, we have what's kind of written to D. Hayes. Sorry.
It's Demelza Hayes. It's a hard one, the first part. Okay, so let's see, go back here. Okay, so good evening. Thank you for staying late and listening to all of us. My name is Dr. Demelza Hayes, and my husband, daughter, and I are residents of Hillary Circle, which is 300 feet from the entrance to the proposed townhomes. I am here on the behalf of the Holly Lane Action Committee to state our staunch opposition to this property being added to the urban service area, as well as being rezoned from a Res 1 to Res 9. We received donations on GoFundMe from over 50 people who oppose this expansion. We have around 60 people here physically and many online. And my neighbors also got over 100 forms signed in opposition at the annual Lutz Parade, 4th of July Parade. And we've also sold over 100 shirts to show the unity of opinion in our community against this development. I am a 4th generation Tampa native. I grew up in Seminole Heights. I grew up in an area where all of the roads dead end into the Hillsborough River. So I was able to ride my bike with neighborhood kids, and there wasn't any pass-through traffic. We also knew the cars that were going down our streets because there was no one in our neighborhood that didn't live there. Fast forward 20 years, my husband and I were living in a skyrise on Bayshore Boulevard. I gave birth to our daughter, and we searched all of Hillsborough County to find an area where we could have something similar, where my daughter could grow up in an area where she could ride her bike safely, because there was many days when I would take the stroller down Bayshore, and you have to be on high alert. We already know that there have been fatalities there of people of women with strollers, and I was always on high alert. In addition to the sound, it was a beautiful area to look out at the bay, but in terms of safety, it wasn't right for our family. I had never seen an area like Holly Lane in Hillsborough County before our realtor took us there. I did not know that that type of rural area existed in Hillsborough County. It is called Holly Lane because it is a lane. It is not a road. It is a tiny little road, and there are massive trees that make a canopy over the road, and it's very rural and scenic. And when we toured our house, from the second story, you could see the farm. So every day my daughter wakes up and she can see horses, pigs, chickens. We live right next to an active farm. And that is why I take a commute of 1 hour every day into Tampa so that my daughter can have a higher quality of living. And I bought this home less than a year ago. I made the conscious decision to make my largest investment in Lutz on Holly Lane. And now, less than a year later, that is going to be jeopardized by exactly what I left.
All right, ma'am, your time's up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next up we have James Hayes.
Hello, Executive Director of the Planning Commission. I'd like to say hello to the Planning Commissioners, and thank you for your time and thank you for having me. My name is James Hayes. I live on Holly Lane, and I'm the father of 6 children. I have a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 15, a 16, a 19, and a 20. One major concern I have is the lack of street lights and sidewalks on our road. At night, it's pitch black. You can't see anything. Even if you're wearing white, the cars can't see you. It's a serious hazard, especially for families like mine with young children. This directly and significantly impacts the safety of my home and the people who live in it. The road is extremely narrow. 2 cars can barely pass each other. Garbage trucks and delivery trucks struggle to get by. We also have to cross the street to get our mail, which is very dangerous at night due to the darkness and limited visibility. And because there's no sidewalks, my family and many of our neighbors have to walk our dogs in the street or on the grass, putting us even closer to traffic. Now we're being told that 150 homes may be added. That would be overwhelming. I also don't see any reason to change the zoning of the property. It's already zoned R1. There's no clear benefit to increase the density. If anything, doing so would only worsen safety, traffic, and infrastructure issues which we're already facing. We need sidewalks and lighting before any more development. Please don't approve more homes until infrastructure is improved. This is about life safety and common sense. Please keep Holly Lane zoned R1. Thank you for your time and hearing my concerns.
Thank you, sir. Next up, last but not least, John Dingfelder.
I signed up, but you haven't called me.
Oh.
I'm watching it.
A bunch of us signed up online.
Yeah, we signed up online. I got a confirmation back for both topics.
Yeah, I got you. John, okay. Randall Roser called. Yeah, you can go ahead, John.
Okay, thank you.
I can figure out how to work this thing.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm John Wojciewicz. My wife Barbara and I live at 906 Lake Brooker Court, which is just a few hundred feet from the subject property. We've lived there for over 40 years. My grandparents actually moved to Lutz 85 years ago, and my parents were married at First Baptist of Lutz, so we're Lutz natives. The proposed expansion of the urban service area really threatens what we came to love. The reason we bought and the reason we love this area is because, as it says in the Lutz plan, is it continues to be a community whose citizens treasure open space over urban or suburban form. We have a strong sense of heritage and history. The proposed expansion is going to threaten that. And the traffic that it will generate, you've heard multiple people, so I'm not going to dwell too long on that, but just want to repeat the numbers that have been talked about before. The staff says that currently there's about 271 trips a day, and that predict that it's going to 1,618. That's a six-fold increase on a narrow country lane. And a lot of people, if you look at the arrows here on the map, they talk about Holly Lane being 20 feet wide and having sidewalks. Well, that's only for a couple hundred feet, right by Del Mabry. And the reality is most people don't go out to Del Mabry because you got to cross a busy 4-lane highway. Most people go south, go out where the traffic light is, or go if they're heading to USF or whatever. So most of that traffic is going to go up and down Holly Lane. We currently have 79 residents that live on Holly Lane or the 3 dead ends that come off of it. With the addition of up to the zoning would allow them to do 218 units, that's like what, triple the residents, almost 4 times the residents we currently have serviced by this little country lane. And just, I think it's a little disingenuous to tell you guys that it's 20 feet wide and has a sidewalk. That's only true for that one little piece that was built when the church was built. The rest of the road, as we've heard before, is only 16.5 feet wide to 17 feet wide, and we have 3 speed bumps, which, interesting, their site plan only shows 1, but there's 3. So, you know, we are a community of half-acre to 5-acre lots. I live on 2 acres myself. The Lutz community plan is to keep the USA out so that we can maintain this rural lifestyle. And that's what we're asking. That's the whole reason for the Lutz community plan, is to keep development consistent. We're not against development. Develop it 1-acre lots, just like everybody. The average is 1.5 acres in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on down. Oh, you want to go last? Are you trying to go last?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I got you then. Next up, Jay Muffley.
Good evening. I'm glad you're all talking about the Lutz community plan, because I was there every meeting, the years that it took us to write it. Anyhow, on 2513, I live at 102 5th Avenue Southeast in Lutz. I'm very strongly opposed to this. I just want to, and in addition to that, I want to make sure that y'all understand this is Lutz, Hillsborough County. It has nothing to do with Lutz, Pasco County, where they haven't seen a foot they can't build something on. Finding the expansion of the urban service area consistent and approvable under the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan and Lutz Community Plan would set a very dangerous precedent that could destroy the Lutz Community Plan, the Keystone Odessa Plan, probably the Tonona Sassa Plan, any other plans that you have in the county that say they want to stay rural. Yes, there's water and sewer in Lutz. That was stuff that was taken over by the county years ago, some of it not so many years ago, but those are private systems. Only one that I know of is connected to the county system, and that was done in the 1980s. Primarily the reason you should reject and deny this proposal is something I learned as a kid many years ago, and the reason is it's just not right. Thank you, and I'll see you at the end of the next one.
Thank you. Next up, we have Lindsay S. Is Lindsay here?
Good evening. My name is Lindsay Saklarides, and I live at 19319 Holly Lane in Lutz. My family and I live 400 feet away across the street from the proposed development. I'm here today as a resident, a mother of young children, and a professional in the real estate industry. I hold a bachelor's degree from the University of South Florida, and I serve as the CFO of my family's commercial real estate business. I understand development. I understand growth, but I also understand the value of preserving the character and safety of a community, and that's what brings me here tonight. My husband and I moved from suburban Brandon 5 years ago, where the homes are so tightly packed, like this, you could touch your neighbor's wall from your window. We didn't want that for our future kids, so we made an intentional decision to move to Lutz, a place that values space, peace, and rural charm. We now live on nearly 2.5 acres on Holly Lane, and it's everything we hoped it would be for our growing family. We have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 3rd baby on the way. On Holly Lane, our children have the freedom to be kids. They scooter and ride their bikes in our driveway, they run around open grass barefoot, and they play under the big oak trees. From our backyard, we can hear and see the animals at Randall's farm: cows, horses, donkeys, chickens, and our kids light up every single time. It's like living in an oasis, a peaceful retreat where they can safely explore and enjoy nature. That's what's at risk with this proposed development of 219 multifamily units. This project would bring hundreds of new vehicles through our quiet lane. The lane isn't designed for that kind of traffic. And it absolutely isn't safe for small children playing outside. And it's not just about traffic, it's about safety. I walk with my kids to Oscar Cooler Park, and I can tell you firsthand, there are no sidewalks. We're walking on the edge of the road with my stroller and toddlers. Then we have to cross Lutz Lake Fern at a corner with no light, where cars fly through at dangerous speeds. It's already risky, and that's before adding hundreds of new residents and vehicles. The increased congestion and speeding vehicles would force families like mine to keep kids indoors. I have 2 boys. That's not going to happen, and a 3rd boy on the way. More than that, this high-density development goes directly against your Lutz community plan, which emphasizes openness, rural character, and safe environments for raising children. That plan is more than just words. It represents the vision and values of our entire community. As someone in real estate, I know not every project belongs in every location, and this development does not belong here. I'm not standing here today because I'm against growth. I'm standing here because I'm for responsible planning. I'm honoring the promises made in your community plan, and I'm for protecting the place where I'm raising my children. I urge you to listen, as you've heard from everybody here who have built their lives on Holly Lane and in Lutz. Please don't let this development undo the beauty, safety, and freedom our children currently enjoy. Help us preserve the peaceful, family-centered lifestyle that makes Lutz so unique. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Lewis Gill. And after Lewis is Kristen Stack. Sure.
Well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good to be here. It's an honor. My wife and I moved 12 years ago into this area. We're escaping what I can probably say was a type of filing cabinet for people with bad hygiene and really poor taste in music. We found this oasis, Holly Lane, 19314. Our property is actually butted against this aberration. One of the reasons why we moved, I'm sorry. I want to start a family. That's still in the works. But I hear this, and I feel that dream is threatened. Not only that, as a combat badge veteran, it has been the only place that I can actually get my PTSD under control. Now I hear this. Well, I cannot tell you that I'm a little bit more than outraged, but I promised my wife that I was going to use very professional language, not so flowery. So I just want to say that there's nothing else that I cannot say that my fellow neighbors, look at this. It's a red tide. This cohesion, this kind of like unity. It's got to tell you something, okay? We're not here because we don't feel cool about it. And you know, if they would have said 24 homes and keep it the way it's supposed to be, you would not have this. 200 plus, not happening. At least not on my watch. And that's not exactly what I serve for. This is what I serve for. That's why I'm honored to see you here. And I implore you, say no. 2513, 2514. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Sir, can you guys please say your name for the record?
Kristen?
Into the mic.
Oh. Kristen Stack?
Lewis Gill.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. All right, next up, we have and I'm going to try to pronounce this last name since your wife did it, Michael Saklarides. All right. Come on down.
Got it. My name is Michael Saklarides. Very close. Great job. We do have a couple kids at home, as my wife said, so we'll probably listen to the rest after this. If we can have these comments also on 2514 for me. This is kind of a weird position for me to be in personally. About 5 weeks ago, I actually left a job with a developer here in the area. I work for a developer who did master plan communities, different things like that. I got my bachelor's degree from the University of South Florida, got my master's degree from the University of Alabama. It's interesting because I won't get into all the reasons why I left my previous position in development, but I know a lot of the political jockeying and things that go on behind the scenes. The relationships with engineers, the relationships with, I'm not saying anything about anybody, and I do want to clarify, I did not work for the developer that I've heard is the one that is working on this project. But I know a lot of people in the industry, a lot of the engineers that work on these projects, a lot of the approvals that come through and the processes behind these things. One of the letters in the mail that we received just a couple days ago about meeting with Level Up in a couple of weeks right across the street from Dale Mabry to start to talk about the plan and everything that's happening here. I've sat in a million of those meetings. And from my development side perspective, this that's right behind me right now in the room across from there, the people that had to sign off for whatever reason, maybe they have kids at home, whatever it is, this is what they will never admit it on record because we never admitted it on record, but this is what developers hate. It's what they absolutely hate. And I could tell you, we're not asking. One thing that my wife said that I think really resonates is to be responsible in growth. We're not advocating for nothing to be built on that land. I think I speak for a lot of us in saying that. And there was one term that was used earlier in one of the previous agenda items that kind of stuck with me, and it was static. And I just want to note, the only thing static I think about anything in this room behind us is the fact that we want to keep the res and the urban area zones consistent. The movements that have been made by everybody back here, by the leaders who are sitting right here in the front row and everybody else, there's nothing static about that. The only thing that we want static is the reason why we moved out here and to follow our plans, our community plans, and the reasons why we came out here to try and grow our families. I know I only have 30 seconds left, and to go into just one more thing, a lot of the communities that I managed and saw from a CDD side, an HOA side, a development side, developers can come in and promise, hey, we're going to put in all this infrastructure and it's going to help with the drainage paths and this and that. Look, I've seen it happen. There are going to be hurricanes come through, storm socks are going to stay inside the drains, it's going to flood the streets further, different things like that. We have a high water table already. They're going to use heavy clay-based soils. It's not going to help. I've seen it happen in so many of my communities I just left. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Last but not least, I hope. All right. Tony wants to check in. Mr. Dingfelder, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is John Dingfelder. I'm a land use attorney for more than 30 years, including several years as an assistant county attorney right upstairs back in the 90s. Tonight I'm here representing these fine folks, residents of the Lutz community, in opposition to both plan amendments 2513 and 14. Commissioners, I've spent my entire adult life around government. It's kind of sad, isn't it? But seriously, including 10 years of my life on Tampa City Council. And one thing that I do find very sad is the fact that over the past 5 decades, our nation's trust in government has dropped 60%. Specifically, the Pew Research Center reports that back in the 1960s, 80% of Americans surveyed said they trusted government. Now that number is down to less than 20%. I think that part of that trust is a frustration by the average person, like these folks, who often believe that you can't fight City Hall and the deck is stacked against us, favoring the wealthy and well-connected. Well, tonight, I'm very proud that the residents of Lutz have set aside their skepticism and have spoken truth to power. Since the 1990s, our comprehensive plan has emphasized the fact that residents of this county have a choice. It's like one of the first pages of the document. They have a choice to live in an urban, suburban, or rural environment. and clearly the residents of Lutz have chosen rural. That choice must be respected and protected. Commissioners, I'm not going to repeat all the legitimate concerns you've already heard this evening. I know it's late, but I do want to emphasize some critical legal problems that these two petitions cannot escape. First, as noted by your staff in their staff report, there's no longer a population justification for the addition of any more property into the urban service area. Because, as you well know, this past spring, the County Commission addressed the buildable land shortage by adding 12,000 acres. That includes a potential for 48,000 dwelling units. The second problem with both of these petitions is that this project blatantly fails to meet the criteria of policy 1.19. And finally, this project would violate state law in regard to consistency and compatibility. Commissioners, based on the competent and substantial evidence before you, please vote no on both plan amendments and help restore the faith and trust of the Lutz community in our government. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That's all we had sign up in the public comment. So I will turn it back over to the applicant for a 3-minute period of response. Ms. Corbett.
Good evening, Cammie Corbett. And as a developer's representative, we do not hate opposition. We often work with communities and would always like to try to do that. We do value their input. We understand that what we're asking for is different than what their expectations are. One challenge we have with this particular site is that is fronting Dale Mabry Highway. It's a major arterial highway. So the property that fronts on that is at a significant disadvantage being in a Res 1 category outside the urban service boundary, because it cannot, if for Res 1, 1 acre lots are not marketable or something desirable directly abutting Dale Mabry Highway. You heard all the testimony relating to the lifestyle to the east of Holly Lane and what that's like. That's very different than what's going on the frontage of Dale Mabry Highway. And so we heard a lot of combined testimony about the expansion and then also about the scale and scope of the map amendment. Here, I think those are two distinct, very distinct considerations where the Planning Commission could get consistent to expand the urban service boundary to allow this property to develop at a resident, at any category whatsoever. Just voting to bring it in does not mean a vote for the residential 9 category. There are different information and concerns that may be considered during those two separate votes. So really what you're considering is, do we want to allow this property to be able to connect to public and water and sewer as it develops with whatever land use category you and the Board of County Commissioners deems is appropriate on this site? And I think given the testimony regarding the watersheds and some of the protected areas, that there would be a public benefit to allowing this particular property to connect to public and water and sewer by including it into the urban service boundary. And then also one other comment, a lot of comments about traffic and flooding, those are handled at the later development stages. So we would provide detailed information about what traffic improvements we would need to make. That doesn't happen until the zoning stage. That doesn't happen at this stage. So we're not ignoring that. And also the scheduling of the community plan in between this hearing and the board hearing was really so that we could talk about the zoning as well at the same meeting. And we know we can't talk about that here this evening. So with that, we'd respectfully request your finding of consistency on the expansion.
Thank you. All right, over to the commissioners at long last for questions, comments, discussions on this one. And just a quick reminder at the outset before I forget that if anyone's going to make a motion against staff, we're going to need some policies and objectives and goals and stuff like that. So whoever needs to be working on that, be working on that. But Commissioner Kona, start us off.
I'll just start out. Obviously, we had 4 very similar amendments tonight. I think the first one was very different than this one. I think this one is, for me, a no-brainer to be inconsistent. I appreciate everyone coming out today. I thought the first one was, like I said, I agreed with Commissioner Sieben. I thought the first one was, if you were going to do it, I think that was the time to do it in that spot. I don't think this one is at all. I appreciate everyone being out here tonight late with us. I know we're all getting paid the same to be here. We're all putting in overtime. I'd also like to say hi to Julio Moran over there. He was my DJ in my wedding 26 years ago. It was nice to see that he's still doing well. But no, I think I agree with staff on the inconsistencies to both of these.
All right, good points, Commissioner Kona. Are there any questions, comments, discussion items? I would just echo what Commissioner Kona says. Obviously, I'm Lutz all day, so I'm from up there, so I'm the same too. I agree with staff. So, Commissioner Likas.
I'll just say I seldom personally make it to that area, but I do know Holly well, and when I drive it about once a year, you can just, I feel like my blood pressure drops. It's such a beautiful, unique place, and that's what we really need, is that what the plan talks about is all these different kinds of places, and it wouldn't happen but for what you're doing, and kudos to you for this hard work.
All right. Any other comments, questions, thoughts from the commissioners? Not seeing any, then I will go on ahead and close the public comment and open it up to motions from the commissioners on this one. Anybody? Commissioner Kona.
Yep. Motion to find, HCCPA 2513, amendment to the comprehensive plan and the urban service area expansion inconsistent with the comprehensive plan.
All right, Commissioner Buzzer? I'll second. All right, we have a motion of inconsistency finding by Commissioner Kona, a second to that motion by Commissioner Buzzer. Are there any questions, comments before we take our vote? And I'm going to throw it over for another roll call just in case.
Buzza?
Yes.
Kona?
Yes.
Kress? Yes. Kugler?
Yes.
Linkus? Yes. Sieben? Yes. Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right. Next up, our last item of the night, 2E, HCCPA 25-14 Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, Dale Mabry Highway and Holly Lane, and the presenter is Lily Linehan?
Linehan. Yeah. You can think about it like lend a hand.
Okay.
That's how I remember it.
That actually helps. Don't laugh. That's how I do it too, so it actually helps.
Good evening, Commissioners. Lillian Linehan, Planning Commission staff here to present HCCPA 2514, located at Dale Mabry Highway and Holly Lane. This is a privately initiated map amendment that is small in scale and approximately 24.36 acres. The applicant is requesting to change the future land use category from residential 1 to residential 9, and this amendment is associated with HCCPA 2513, which is a request to bring the site into the urban service area. This is the general location map. It is in the rural area and within the limits of the Lutz Community Plan. It is located east of Dale Mabry Highway, south of Holly Lane, and north of Lutz Lake Fern Road. Here's an aerial of the site. The site is outlined in pink, and the blue line indicates the existing urban service area boundary. As previously shown, this is the site looking west towards the subject site from Holly Lane. This is looking south down Holly Lane, and the subject site is on the right side of the road. This is looking south down Dale Mabry Highway, and the subject site is to the left of the roadway. The site is in the residential 1 future land use category, which allows for the consideration of low-density residential, rural-scale neighborhood commercial, and office multi-purpose projects. Neighborhood commercial uses are subject to locational criteria. The surrounding land use categories consist of mainly residential 1 and residential 2, and there is one subdivision further southwest of the site that is within the urban service area right here, and it contains designations of residential 4 and neighborhood mixed use 4. The request is to change the site to residential 9, which allows for the consideration of agricultural, residential, neighborhood, commercial, office uses, multi-purpose projects, and mixed-use developments. This slide outlines the potential impacts of the requested land use change. Currently, under the residential 1 category, the site can be considered for up to 24 dwelling units and a 0.25 FAR, which is approximately 265,269 square feet of non-residential, subject to locational criteria. The change to residential 9 would allow for the consideration of up to 219 dwelling units and a 0.5 FAR, which is approximately 530,539 square feet of non-residential uses, and non-residential development that exceeds a 0.35 FAR must be for office or residential support uses. The proposed amendment will increase the potential residential density and commercial intensity. The proposed amendment received no formal objections, however, received comments from the following agencies, which are important to note. Fire Rescue stated that the proposed increased population density for the area would also lead to increased call volumes and response times. Hillsborough County Fire Rescue would need additional units to an existing station and or an additional fire station to support the existing stations. The Office of Emergency Management stated the proposed amendment doesn't align with the objectives outlined in the Hillsborough County Local Mitigation Strategy, specifically Section 2, Improved Built Environment, and Section 3, Improved Natural Environment. And lastly, Community and Infrastructure Planning stated the potential trip generation plus existing traffic will force Dale Mabry Highway over its level of service by 519 trips. The proposed amendment is inconsistent with the following objectives and policies of the comprehensive plan. The proposed request would not be compatible with the existing community character and development pattern, and according to FLU's policy 3.1.2, gradual transitions of intensities and densities between different land uses shall be provided for as new development is proposed through the use of professional site planning, buffering, and screening techniques, and through the control of specific land uses. The residential one future land use destination surrounds the site, as well as surrounding the site is low density residential development. Transition to Res 9 on the subject site would allow for the development that is not compatible with the surrounding area and would be inconsistent with the previously mentioned policy. The proposal does not meet the intent of FLU's Objective 4.4 and its associated policies that require new development to be compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. In this case, the surrounding land use pattern is comprised mostly of large lot, rural residential development with surrounding lot sizes averaging 1.5 acres in size. The Lutz Community Plan desires to maintain Lutz as low-density, semi-rural, single-family community, offering a variety of housing styles, lot sizes, and configurations and setbacks, while ensuring quality of life and sustainability. The community plan looks to maintain the semi-rural development character within the Lutz area, specifically on the east side of Dale Mabry, where the subject site is located. The proposed FLU of Residential 9 would allow for development that is not consistent with the Lutz Community Plan and not consistent with the livable communities element of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Planning Commission staff recommends that the proposed map amendment be found inconsistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. This concludes my presentation, and I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Does the applicant have a presentation? Yes.
Good evening, Cammie Corbett. I would just like to ask that the presentation from our last hearing be incorporated in this hearing and make sure that the analysis we submitted in support of the Res 9 is incorporated into the record for this hearing that was submitted with the application. We could just have that occur, please. We were looking at R9 here because we thought townhouses were an appropriate transitional use from the arterial highway back to the single family, but just so you know what we were thinking when we were proposing that, but otherwise I just asked those other documents be incorporated into the record.
All righty. All right, so we will send it out now to public comment, and I'll start with the one person online. Manoy, is Manoy still online?
Manoy has left the webinar.
All right, that's what I sort of figured.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion?
All right. What's your...
Because I think we've heard adequate public comment on this issue, I'd like to call the question on action item E, and we can send it to the commissioners for vote.
Okay. Is there a...
That would need a second.
Yeah, is there a second anywhere out there to...
I'll second that.
All right. A second to that.
Could I approach and just put something on the record? I think it's important.
All right. Make it quick, though.
It's the same. It's the same thing that Cammie put on the record. On behalf of all the folks who spoke earlier, and I've spoken with many of them, they'd like to incorporate their comments against this comp plan amendment, their earlier comments, and incorporate them and put them in here.
Okay.
So, thank you.
All right. All right. We have a motion to take this to a vote. Skip the public comment. And a second to that motion. So I guess I'll ask the clerk to do a roll call vote on that. See if the board's okay with it.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Before you do that, may I suggest that you, if the seconder of the motion will agree and the presenter, incorporate into the motion the adoption of the comments from the previous plan amendment by both the petitioner and the audience and the public who's been here tonight, so it's all in one motion.
Amenable to that?
So moved.
Okay. Who was the second?
Second.
Okay. All right. So we're going to take that one to a roll call vote now. Okay. Yeah,
Buzza?
calling the question and copying public comment and the applicants over. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Buzza? Yes. Kona?
Yes.
Kress? Yes. Kugler?
Yes.
Linkus? Yes. Sieben? Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Boom, public comment is closed. So I will open it up to motions from the commissioners. Commissioner Kona?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we find HCCPA 2514 inconsistent with the comprehensive plan.
All right, is there a second? Commissioner Buzza? Second. All right, a motion of inconsistency finding by Commissioner Kona, a second by Commissioner Buzza. Questions, comments from the commissioners? We'll send it to a roll call.
Buzza?
Yes.
Kona?
Yes.
Kress? Kugler?
Yes.
Linkus? Yes. Sieben? Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to show up at the county commission because it's not over. And at 9:04 p.m., this meeting is adjourned.